Hello. 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 ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. Good morning, everybody. We, Institution of Agriculture Technologists, Bangalore, we are conducting a workshop on carbon trading through sustainable agriculture practices, ಸುಸ್ಥಿರ ಕೃಷಿ ಪದ್ಧತಿಗಳ ಮೂಲಕ ಸಾವಯವ ಇಂಗಾಲ ಮಾರುಕಟ್ಟೆ. A very warm welcome to all the members, and our agri technologists are on the way. They will be coming and they will be joining us in a short while. So let us start the program. Can I request Dr. Rajendra Hegde, former director of NBSS LUP Bengaluru, to come on the dais. Warm welcome to you, sir. And our IIT Vice President M. Mahanteshappa to come on the dais, please. Dr. A.B. Patil, OSP to our Agriculture Minister, to please come on the dais. Dr. Dev Kumar, former Director of Extension, please sir, please grace the dais, sir. I request Dr. V.S. Patil to come on the dais, please, MC member of IT. Sorry. So I request Sri Nilesh Sachdev, Business Head, Kosher Climate, to come on the dais. Please welcome. Miss Vidya Kunjappa, Senior Consultant, Kosher Climate. Warm welcome to you, madam. A big hand for her. And Sri Ravi Divedi, Resource Person, Climate Change Projects. Warm welcome to you, sir. Then I request V.S. Patil sir also to grace the dais. And I request Secretary Mr. Veerana Kamtar to occupy the seat on the dais. V.S. Patil. V.S. Patil sir. So let us start the program. I request Mrs. Meera Bai to have the invocation program. Yes, Patil.
शिव मोहिनी नित्य कल्याणी परशिव मोहिनी नित्य कल्याणी जननी गौरी चामुंडेश्वरी जननी गौरी चामुंडेश्वरी भवानी पाहि पाहि शिवे महिषमर्दिनी अष्टमी चंद्रना धरिसी अष्टायुध धरिणी ಎನಿಸಿ ಅಷ್ಟಮಿ ಚಂದ್ರನ ಧರಿಸಿ ಅಷ್ಟಾಯುಧ ಧರಣಿ ಎನಿಸಿ ಪಾಲಾಕ್ಷನನ್ನೇ ವರಿಸಿ ಪಾಲಾಕ್ಷನನ್ನೇ ವರಿಸಿ ಬಂದನೆ ಗಿರಿಗೆ ದೈರಿಸಿ ಬಂದನೆ ಗಿರಿಗೆ ದೈರಿಸಿ ಬಂದನೆ ಗಿರಿಗೆ ಭದ್ದೈರಿಸಿ ಸಾಂಸರಿ ಸನಿದ ಸನಿದ ಮುಗಮರಿಸ ಗರಿ ಮಗದ ಮನಿದ ಸನಿದ ಮದನಿ ಸರಿ ಗನಿ ಸನಿದಲ್ಲಿ ಸನಿದ ಮಮ ದನ್ನಿದ ಮಗದ ಮದ ಮದನಿ ಸರಿ ಗಮಗರಿ ಸನಿ ಸನಿದ ಮಗ ಮಗರಿ ಗಮದನಿ ಗಮದನಿ ಪಾಹಿ ಪಾಹಿ ಶಿವೆ ಮಹಿಷಮರ್ದಿನಿ ನವರಾತ್ರಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಲಿ ನಲಿವೆ ನಾಡಿಗೆ ಶಕ್ತಿಯ ಕೊಡುತ್ತಿರುವೆ ನವರಾತ್ರಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಲಿ ನಲಿವೆ ನಾಡಿಗೆ ಶಕ್ತಿಯ ಕೊಡುತ್ತಿರುವೆ ಶರಣಾಗತರಿಗೆ ತಾಯಾಗಿರುವೆ ಶರಣಾಗತರಿಗೆ ತಾಯಾಗಿರುವೆ ಕರುಣಾರಸವನೋ ತಂದಿರುವೆ ಕರುಣಾರಸವನೋ ತಂದಿರುವೆ ಕರುಣಾರಸವನು ತಂದಿರುವೆ ಪಾಹಿ ಪಾಹಿ ಶಿವೆ ಮಹಿಷಮರ್ದಿನಿ ಅಯಗಿರಿ ನಂದಿನಿ ನಂದಿತ ಮೇದಿನಿ ವಿಶ್ವ ವಿನೋದಿನಿ ನಂದನುತೆ ಗಿರಿವರ ವಿಂಧ್ಯ ಶಿರೋಧಿನಿ ವಾಸಿನಿ ವಿಷ್ಣು ವಿಲಾಸಿನಿ ಜಿಷ್ಣುನುತೆ ಭಗವತಿ ಹೇಷಿತಿ ಕಂಠ ಕುಟುಂಬಿನಿ ಭೂರಿ ಕುಟುಂಬಿನಿ ಭೂರಿ ಕೃತೆ ಜಯ ಜಯ ಹೇ ಮಹಿಷಾಸುರ ಮರ್ದಿನಿ ರಮ್ಯಕ ಪರ್ದಿನಿ ಶೈಲಸುತೆ ರಮ್ಯಕ ಪರ್ದಿನಿ ಶೈಲಸುತೆ ರಮ್ಯಕ ಪರ್ದಿನಿ ಶೈಲಸುತೆ ಪಾಹಿ ಪಾಹಿ ಶಿವೆ ಮಹಿಷಮರ್ದಿನಿ ಪರಶಿವ ಮೋಹಿನಿ ನಿತ್ಯ ಕಲ್ಯಾಣಿ ಜನನಿ ಗೌರಿ ಚಾಮುಂಡೇಶ್ವರಿ ಜನನಿ ಗೌರಿ ಚಾಮುಂಡೇಶ್ವರಿ ಭವಾನಿ ಪಾಹಿ ಪಾಹಿ ಶಿವೆ ಮಹಿಷಮರ್ದಿನಿ ಪಾಹಿ ಪಾಹಿ ಶಿವೆ ಮಹಿಷಮರ್ದಿನಿ ಧನ್ಯವಾದ.
Any occasion starts with a holy note. ತುಂಬ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು ಮೇಡಮ್. Now may I request the Secretary of IIT, Mr. V.K. Kamtar, to have the welcome speech.
ಕೃಷಿ ತಜ್ಞರ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು. ಈ ಒಂದು ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ 1968ರಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಾರಂಭವಾಗಿದೆ. 55 ವಸಂತವನ್ನು ಕಳೆದು ಈ ಒಂದು ಬೃಹದಾಕಾರದ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇವತ್ತು ಈ ಶುಭ ದಿನದಂದು ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಟ್ರೇಡಿಂಗ್ ಥ್ರೂ ಸಸ್ಟೈನಬಲ್ ಅಗ್ರಿಕಲ್ಚರ್ ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟೀಸಸ್, ಸುಸ್ಥಿರ ಕೃಷಿ ಪದ್ಧತಿಗಳ ಮೂಲಕ ಸಾವಯವ ಇಂಗಾಲ ಮಾರುಕಟ್ಟೆ. This is one of the subjects which is being discussed threadbare from micro level to macro level, even at global level. This is one of the best, interesting and our need of the day. Wonderful subject is being discussed through this workshop. ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಉದ್ಘಾಟಕರಾಗಿ ಆಗಮಿಸಿದಂಥ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ರಾಜೇಂದ್ರ ಹೆಗಡೆ, ಫಾರ್ಮರ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಆಫ್ NBSS ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ LUP ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು, ಇವರನ್ನು ಕೃಷಿ ತಂತ್ರಜ್ಞರ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ಹಾಗೂ ತಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕವಾದ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನು ಕೋರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ. ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ವೆಲ್ಕಮ್ ಸರ್. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷನೇ ಆದಂಥ ಶ್ರೀಮತಿ CN ನಂದಿನಿ ಕುಮಾರಿ ಅವರು ಬರಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತು. ಅವರ ಅನಾರೋಗ್ಯದ ನಿಮಿತ್ತ ಅವರು ಬರಲಾರದಕ್ಕೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ಉಪಾಧ್ಯಕ್ಷರಾದಂಥ ಹಿರಿಯರು ಹಾಗೂ ನಿವೃತ್ತ ಜಂಟಿ ಕೃಷಿ ನಿರ್ದೇಶಕರು ಮೈಸೂರು M. ಮಹಾಂತೇಶಪ್ಪ ಅವರನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಹಾಗೂ ತಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕವಾದ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನು ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಈ ಒಂದು ಸಭೆಯ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷತೆಯನ್ನು ವಹಿಸಿಕೊಂಡು ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ನಡೆಸಿಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಶೋಭೆಯನ್ನು ತರತಕ್ಕಂಥ, ಬಹುಶಃ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ವಿಸ್ತೃತ ಚರ್ಚೆಯನ್ನು ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗಮಿಸಿದಂಥ ಗೆಸ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಪೀಕರ್ ಶ್ರೀ ನೀಲೇಶ್ ಸಚ್ದೇವ್, ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಹೆಡ್, ಕೋಶರ್ ಕ್ಲೈಮೇಟ್ ಅವರನ್ನು ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಹಾಗೂ ತಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕವಾದ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನು ಕೋರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ. ಇನ್ನೊಬ್ಬ ಸ್ಪೀಕರ್, ಯಂಗ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಎನರ್ಜೆಟಿಕ್ ಲೇಡಿ ಮಿಸ್ ವಿದ್ಯಾ ಕುಂಜಪ್ಪ ಅವರನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಹಾಗೂ ತಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕವಾದ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನು ಕೋರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ. ಶ್ರೀ ರವಿ ತ್ರಿವೇದಿ, ರಿಸೋರ್ಸ್ ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಕ್ಲೈಮೇಟ್ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಪ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಅವರನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಹಾಗೂ ತಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕವಾದ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನು ಕೋರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ. ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಈ ಒಂದು ಅತ್ಯುತ್ತಮ ವಿಷಯಕ್ಕೆ ಒಳ್ಳೊಳ್ಳೆ ಸ್ಪೀಕರ್ನ ಆಯ್ಕೆ ಮಾಡಿ ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜ್ ಅಥವಾ ಕೇಂದ್ರೀಕೃತ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ ಅಂದರೆ ತಪ್ಪಿಲ್ಲ, ನಮ್ಮ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ IV ಪಾಟೀಲ್, ಫಾರ್ಮರ್ ರಿಜಿಸ್ಟ್ರಾರ್, US ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು, UHS ಬಾಗಲಕೋಟ್, ಸದ್ಯ ನಿಮಗೆಲ್ಲ ಗೊತ್ತಿರುವಂತೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಕೃಷಿ ಮಂತ್ರಿಗಳಿಗೆ OSD ಆಗಿ ಕಾರ್ಯನಿರ್ವಹಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಹೀಸ್ ಎನ್ ಆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಅಜೈಲ್ ಮ್ಯಾನ್. ಅವರನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಹಾಗೂ ತಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕವಾದ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನು ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ. ಇನ್ನೋರ್ವ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ ಸದಾ ನಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಹಿಂದೆ ಇರ್ಬೇಕಂತಾರೆ, ಅವರು ಯಾವತ್ತು ಮುಂದೆ ಬರಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟಪಡಲ್ಲ. ಆದರೂ ಕೂಡ ಇವತ್ತು ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ವೇದಿಕೆ ಮುಂದೆ ಕೂಡಿಸಿ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ಪರವಾಗಿ ತಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕವನ್ನು ಸ್ವಾಗತ ಮಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ ಅಂದರೆ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ದೇವಕುಮಾರ್. ಅವರು ಕೂಡ ಫಾರ್ಮರ್ DE ಅಗ್ರಿಕಲ್ಚರ್ ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸಿಟಿ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು, ಅವರನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕವಾದ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನು ಕೋರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಬಹಳ ದಿನಗಳಿಂದ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತೇಳಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಆಕ್ಟಿವ್ IIT ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಚರ್ಚೆ ಆಗ್ತಿತ್ತು. IIT ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ಆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಆಗಬೇಕು, ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಗಳು ಮಾಡಬೇಕಂತ ಹೇಳಿ. ಆದರೂ ಕೂಡ ಇನ್ನೂ ಏನು ಆಕ್ಟಿವ್ IIT ಆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಆಗಿ ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಬರಲಿ ಅಂತ ಎಲ್ಲರನ್ನೂ ಪರೋಕ್ಷವಾಗಿ ಅಪರೋಕ್ಷವಾಗಿ ಸ್ವಾಗತ ಮಾಡುತ್ತಾ ನಮ್ಮ ಹಿರಿಯರಾದಂಥ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ವೀರಭದ್ರೇ ಸರ್, ಇಮಿಡಿಯೇಟ್ ಪಾಸ್ಟ್ ಪ್ರೆಸಿಡೆಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ IIT ಅವರನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕವಾಗಿ ಸ್ವಾಗತ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ಪರವಾಗಿ. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ಮಾರ್ಚ್ ಇದ್ರೂ ಕೂಡ ಅಪರ ನಿರ್ದೇಶಕರು, ಇವತ್ತು ನಿರ್ದೇಶಕರು ಕೂಡ ಬರ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಪ್ರಾಮಿಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು. ಅವರು ಇವತ್ತು ಧಾರವಾಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಇರೋ ಪ್ರಯುಕ್ತ ನಮ್ಮ ನಿರ್ದೇಶಕರಾದಂಥ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಪುತ್ರ ಸರ್ ಬಂದಿಲ್ಲ. ಅವರ ಅನುಪಸ್ಥಿತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಬಾಲರೆಡ್ಡಿ ಸರ್ ಅಪರ ನಿರ್ದೇಶಕರು ಹಾಗೂ ಸದಾಶಿವ ಸರ್ ಅಪರ ನಿರ್ದೇಶಕರು, ನಂಜಪ್ಪ ಸರ್ ಹಾಗೂ ನಮ್ಮ ಹಿಂದಿನ MC ಮೆಂಬರ್ ಆದಂಥ ಮಂಜುನಾಥ್ ಅವರು, ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಹುಲ್ಗೂರ್ ಸರ್ ನೆವಾರ್ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯಿಂದ, ಹಾಗೆ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಜನ ನಮ್ಮ ಬ್ಯಾಚ್ಮೇಟ್ಸ್ ಕೂಡ ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು IITians ಕೂಡ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸೇರಿದ್ದೀರಿ. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಸ್ನೇಹಿತರಿಗೆ ಅಟ್ಲೀಸ್ಟ್ ಫೋನ್ ಮಾಡಿ. ದಿಸ್ ಒನ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ ಥ್ರೆಡ್ ಬೇರ್. ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ನಡಿಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ ಕೂಡ ಇದೆ, ಸುಮಾರು ಜನ ಲಿಂಕ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂದ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಗಳು ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಗೆ ಏನು ತೊಂದರೆ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಬಟ್ ಯಾವತ್ತು ಪ್ರೇಕ್ಷಕರು ಕೂಡ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದು ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಸಾಕ್ಷೀಕರಿಸಿದರೆ ಇದಕ್ಕೊಂದು ಯಶಸ್ಸು ಬರ್ತದೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಅವರ ನಿರೀಕ್ಷೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲರನ್ನೂ ಸ್ವಾಗತ ಮಾಡುತ್ತಾ ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ಹೃದಯಪೂರ್ವಕವಾಗಿ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಅತ್ಯಂತ ಯಶಸ್ವಿಯಾಗಲಿ ಅಂತ ಹಾರೈಕೆ ಮಾಡುತ್ತಾ ಒಂದು ಈ ಸ್ವಾಗತ ಭಾಷಣಕ್ಕೆ ವಿರಾಮ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು.
ತುಂಬ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು ವೀರಣ್ಣ ಕಮ್ತಾರ್ ಅವರೇ. Carbon trading, it is talk of the day and IIT ಸೆಕ್ರೆಟರಿ ಆದಂಥ ವೀರಣ್ಣ ಕಮ್ತಾರ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಸ್ವಾಗತ. ಸೊ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ವಿಷಯ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಟ್ರೇಡಿಂಗ್ ಅಂತ ಏನಿದೆ, This is talk of the day and need of the hour. So regarding this, I would like to request Dr. A.B. Patil to have the introduction speech. Please, sir.
ಪ್ರಾಸ್ತಾವಿಕ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಒಂದೇ ನಿಮಿಷ ಆಯ್ತಾ ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡಕ್ಟರ್ ಆದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಲೈಟಿಂಗ್ ಬಟ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಪ್ರಾಸ್ತಾವಿಕ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಜ್ಯೋತಿ ಬೆಳಗ್ಗೆ
ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾರ್ಯದರ್ಶಿಗಳು ಇದರ ಮಹತ್ವವನ್ನು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇತ್ತೀಚಿನ ದಿನಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಜಾಗತಿಕ ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ವಿಶೇಷವಾಗಿ ಕ್ಲೈಮೇಟ್ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಮೂಲಕ ಅನಿರ್ದಿಷ್ಟ ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಳೆ ಬಂದು, ಪ್ರವಾಹ ಬಂದು, ಸುನಾಮಿ ಬಂದು, ಹ್ಯಾರಿಕೇನ್ಗಳು ಬಂದು ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಕೃಷಿಗೆ ಹಿನ್ನಡೆ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯ ಜನರ ಜೀವನಕ್ಕೆ ತೊಂದರೆ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಇದಕ್ಕೆಲ್ಲ ಕಾರಣ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಎಮಿಷನ್ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಅಲ್ಲ, ನೈಟ್ರಸ್ ಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್, CFC ಗ್ಯಾಸಸ್, NTO ಗ್ಯಾಸಸ್, ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಕಾರಣಗಳಿಂದ ವಾತಾವರಣದಲ್ಲಿ ಇಂಗಾಲದ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ದ ಪ್ರಮಾಣ ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗ್ತಾ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಭಾಳಷ್ಟು ಈ ಅಸಮತೋಲನ ನೇಚರ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ವಿಶೇಷವಾಗಿ ನಾವು ನೀರಾವರಿ ಪದ್ಧತಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಕೃಷಿ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ, ಮೊನೋಕ್ರಾಪಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ವಿಶೇಷವಾಗಿ ಪ್ಯಾಡಿ ಕ್ರಾಪ್ಲಿಂದ ಅನಾರೋಬಿಕ್ ಸಿಚುವೇಶನ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿನೂ ಕೂಡ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲದೆ ಇನ್ನುಳಿದ ಗ್ಯಾಸ್ಗಳು ರಿಲೀಸ್ ಆಗೋದ್ರಿಂದ ವಾತಾವರಣದಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ವಿವಿಧ ಅನಿಲಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ವಿಶೇಷವಾಗಿ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡಿಂದ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಹಾನಿ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಇದನ್ನು ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ನಿಯಂತ್ರಣ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು, ಹೌ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ರೆಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ದಿ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಎಮಿಷನ್ಸ್. ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಅನೇಕ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿಗಳು ವಿಶೇಷವಾಗಿ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಕೃಷಿಗಿಂತಲೂ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡನ್ನು ಎಮಿಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತವೆ. ಅವರಿಗೆ ಕೇಂದ್ರ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಎನ್ವಿರಾನ್ಮೆಂಟಲ್ ಡಿಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ದವರು ಒಂದು ಕ್ಯಾಪ್ ಹಾಕಿರ್ತಾರೆ, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಖಾನೆಯಿಂದ ಇಷ್ಟು ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಎಮಿಷನ್ ಮಾತ್ರ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು, ಇದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಮಾಡಿದರೆ ನೀವು ಬೇರೆಯವರ ಮೂಲಕ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಮಾಡಿಸಿ ಅವರು ಅರ್ನ್ ಮಾಡಿದಂಥ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಕ್ರೆಡಿಟ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಖರೀದಿ ಮಾಡಿ. ಈಗ ಒಂದು ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗುವಾಗ ಹೇಳೋದಂದರೆ, ನನ್ನದೇ ಆದಂಥ ಒಂದು ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಇದೆ, ಸಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಇದೆ. ನನಗೆ ಕ್ಯಾಪ್ ಹಾಕಿದ್ದಾರೆ 500 ಟನ್ಸ್ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ಗಿಂತ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿಗೆ ಎಮಿಷನ್ನು ನನ್ನ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ರಿಯಿಂದ ವಾತಾವರಣಕ್ಕೆ ಬಿಡುಗಡೆ ಮಾಡೋ ಹಾಗಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂಥೇಳಿ. ಬಟ್ ನಾನು 600 ಟನ್ನನ್ನು ನನ್ನ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ರಿಯಿಂದ ಬಿಡುಗಡೆ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ನನ್ನ ಕ್ಯಾಬ್ಗಿಂತಲೂ ಒಂದು 100 ಟನ್ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿಗೆ ಬಿಡುಗಡೆ ಮಾಡಿದೆ. ಸೊ ಇದನ್ನು ಈ ಕೋಶಲ್ ಕ್ಲೈಮೇಟ್ದಂಥ ಅನೇಕ ಕಂಪನಿಗಳು ಮುಂದೆ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾವೆ. ಆ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಏರಿಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರು ತಮ್ಮ ರೈತರನ್ನು ರಿಜಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಬೆಂಚ್ ಮಾರ್ಕ್ ಆಗಿ ಅವರ ಒಂದು ಜಮೀನಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಆತ ಒಂದು ಸೀಸನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ವಾತಾವರಣಕ್ಕೆ ಬಿಡುಗಡೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಎಸ್ಟಿಮೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಆ ಒಂದು ಬೆಳೆ ತೆಗೆದ ಮೇಲೆ ಈಗ ಅವನು ನೀರಾವರಿ ಪದ್ಧತಿ ಇಂಟೆನ್ಸಿವ್ ಫಾರ್ಮಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಏನು ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದ, he can reduce the emission of carbon dioxide by bringing the integrated farming system, by involving different multiple crops, ಸ್ಪೆಷಲಿ ಅಗ್ರೋಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಕಾಂಪೋನೆಂಟನ್ನು ಇನ್ವಾಲ್ವ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ವಿಶೇಷವಾಗಿ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಎಮಿಷನ್ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ ಅವನು ಒಂದು ಭತ್ತದ ಬೆಳೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅವನು 1 ಅಥವಾ 2 ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಟನ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಕಡಿಮೆ ಮಾಡಿದರೆ 1 ಟನ್ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ಗೆ 1 ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಕ್ರೆಡಿಟ್ ಅಂತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಅವನು 10 ಟನ್ ಮಾಡೋನು 9 ಟನ್ ಮಾತ್ರ ಎಮಿಷನ್ ಮಾಡಿದರೆ ಅವನಿಗೆ ಹಿ ಅರ್ನ್ಡ್ 1 ಟನ್ ಅಂದರೆ 1 ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಕ್ರೆಡಿಟ್ ಅವನು ಅರ್ನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ. ಸೊ ಆ ಅರ್ನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಕ್ರೆಡಿಟ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ವಾಲಂಟ್ರಿ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಕಂಪನಿಗಳಿರ್ತವೆ, ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಕ್ಯಾಪ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಟ್ರೇಡ್ ಅಂತ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ವೇ ಆಫ್ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟಿಂಗ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಅವರು ಅದನ್ನು ಪರ್ಚೇಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, DBT ಮುಖಾಂತರ ಆ ರೈತನ ಖಾತೆಗೆ ಹಣ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಇದರಿಂದ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಮಾರುಕಟ್ಟೆ ಏನು ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಇತ್ತೀಚಿನ ಮೊನ್ನಿನ ಪಾರ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಂದ್ರ ಸರ್ಕಾರದ ಮೂಲಕ ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಟ್ರೇಡಿಂಗ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಬಿಲ್ಲು ಕೂಡ ಪಾಸ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಅಷ್ಟು ನಾನು ಅದನ್ನು ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೆ, ಪಾರ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಪ್ರಾಸೆಸ್ಸನ್ನು ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೆ. ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಜನ ಅವಾಗ ಹೂ ಆರ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಮಾನಿಟರ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಮೇಂಟೈನ್ ದಿಸ್ ಅಂತ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳನ್ನು ಭಾಳ ಬಂದು. ಸೊ ಹೀಗಾಗಿ ಬಿಲ್ ಪಾಸ್ ಆದರೂ ಕೂಡ ಇನ್ನೂ ಗೈಡ್ಲೈನ್ಸ್ ಬಂದು ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಇನ್ ನೇಸೆಂಟ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜ್. ಬಟ್ ಮೆನಿ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಕಂಪ್ನೀಸ್ ಆರ್ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟೆಡ್ ಆನ್ ದರ್ ಓನ್ ಟು ಐಡೆಂಟಿಫೈ ದಿ ಏರಿಯಾ, ಟು ರಿಜಿಸ್ಟರ್ ದ ಫಾರ್ಮರ್ಸ್, ಟು ಅಸೆಸ್ ದಿ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಎಮಿಷನ್ in the beginning and after the harvest. So they are already collecting the data and estimating the carbon credits saved, earned, and the agencies like some of the big companies, they are going to buy these carbon credits. And ಈ ಥರ ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಟ್ರೇಡಿಂಗ್ ನಡೀತಾ ಇದೆ. ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾನು ನಿಮಗೆ ತಿಳಿಯೋ ಹಾಗೆ ನನ್ನ ಭಾಷೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳಿದೆ, ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪರ್ಟ್ಸು ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಡೀಟೇಲ್ ಆಗಿ what is carbon trading and carbon credit, carbon budgeting, carbon marketing ಎಲ್ಲ ಅವರು ಡೀಟೇಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಈ ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ಲಿ USA ಕ್ಯಾಲಿಫೋರ್ನಿಯಾದಿಂದ ಒಂದು ಕಂಪ್ನಿ ಇದೆ, ಅವರು ಇದನ್ನು ಹುಟ್ಟು ಹಾಕಿದರು. ಸೊ ಅವರು ಪ್ರಾರಂಭಿಸಿದಾಗ ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಇದು ಗ್ಲೋಬಲಿ ದಿಸ್ ಟಾಪಿಕ್, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಎವ್ರಿಬಡಿ ವಾಂಟ್ಸ್ ಟು ರೆಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ದ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಎಮಿಷನ್, ಎವ್ರಿಬಡಿ ವಾಂಟ್ಸ್ ಟು ಸೇವ್ ದ ಪ್ಲಾನೆಟ್. ಸೊ ಹೀಗಿರುವಾಗ ಈ ಥರದ ಒಂದು ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆ ಕೃಷಿಯಿಂದ ಏನು ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಎಮಿಷನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಸೀಮಿತವಾಗಿ ಯಾವ ಕೃಷಿ ಪದ್ಧತಿಗಳನ್ನು ಮಾಡೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಎಮಿಷನನ್ನು ಕಡಿಮೆ ಮಾಡಿ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಕ್ರೆಡಿಟನ್ನು ನಮ್ಮ ರೈತರು ಅರ್ನ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಉಪ ಕಸಬಾಗಿ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಕ್ರೆಡಿಟ್ ಸೇಲ್ಸ್ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟಿಂಗ್ಲಿಂದನೂ ಕೂಡ ತಮ್ಮ ಮೂಲ ಆದಾಯದ ಜೊತೆಯಲ್ಲಿಯೂ ಕೂಡ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಆದಾಯವನ್ನು ರೈತರು ಪಡಿಬೋದು ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ಕಾರಣದಿಂದ ಈ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟನ್ನು ನಾವು ಇನ್ನೂ ಇದು ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಮಂದಿ ಕೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಈಗ ಯಾರು ರಿಜಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಯಾರು ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಕ್ರೆಡಿಟ್ ಸೇವ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಯಾರು ಖರೀದಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಇನ್ ನೇಸೆಂಟ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜ್. ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಕಂಪ್ನಿಗಳು ಇವರು ಕೂಡ ಆಂಧ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಪ್ರದೇಶದಲ್ಲಿ ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಇಲ್ಲಿನೂ ಒಂದು ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಲ್ಲಿ ಆಫೀಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ಪ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲಿ ಇದನ್ನು ಕೈಗೆ ತಗೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಈ ಥರ ಇದು ಮುಂದಿನ ದಿನಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ರಾಜ್ಯ ವ್ಯಾಪ್ತಿಯಾಗಿ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರ ವ್ಯಾಪ್ತಿಯಾಗಿ ಬೆಳೆದಾಗ ನಾವು ಒಟ್ಟಲ್ಲಿ ದ ಗ್ಲೋಬಲ್ ಎಮಿಷನ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಅವರ್ ನೇಷನ್ ನಾವು ರೆಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ದಂಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಮಳೆ ಬೆಳೆ ಕಾಲಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗಲಿ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಉದ್ದೇಶದಿಂದ ಈ ಪ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟನ್ನು ನಾವು IITನಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಇನ್ನೋವೇಟಿವ್ ಆಗಿ ನಾವು ಇದನ್ನು ಹೈಬ್ರಿಡ್ ಮಾಡೆಲ್ ಮಾಡೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಜನ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದರು ನಾವು ಆನ್ಲೈನಲ್ಲಿ ಅಟೆಂಡ್ ಆಗ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತ. ಹೀಗಾಗಿ ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ ಮಾಡೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಒಂದು ಪ್ಲಸ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತದೆ. ಫಿಸಿಕಲಿ ಅಟೆಂಡೆನ್ಸ್ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು, ಆನ್ಲೈನಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಎವ್ರಿಬಡಿ ವಾಂಟ್ಸ್ ಟು ಪಾರ್ಟಿಸಿಪೇಟ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಲಿಸನ್ ಟು ದಿ ಸ್ಪೀಕರ್ಸ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದೇರ್ ಹೋಮ್. ಸೊ ಹೀಗಾಗಿ ಆದರೂ ಕೂಡ ಒಂದು 35-40 ಜನ ನಾವು ಸೇರಿದ್ದೇವೆ. ಸೊ ಇಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಗಿ ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಟ್ರೇಡಿಂಗ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅವಕಾಶ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂತ IIT ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ಗೆ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನು ಅರ್ಪಿಸಿ ನನಗೆ ಮಾತಿಗೆ ವಿರಾಮ ಹೇಳ್ತೇನೆ.
Thank you very much, Patil sir, for your crisp and brief introduction about the carbon trading, its benefits, and small generation of income to the farming community. Thank you very much, sir. So next, we'll have the inauguration of the workshop. So may I request Dr. Rajendra Hegde, sir, to have the inauguration program. I request all the dignitaries on the dais and also off the dais.
ಹಚ್ಚೇವು ಕನ್ನಡದ ದೀಪ ಹಚ್ಚೇವು ಕನ್ನಡದ ದೀಪ ಕರುನಾಡ ದೀಪ ಸಿರಿನುಡಿಯ ದೀಪ ಕುಲವೆತ್ತಿ ತೋರುವ ದೀಪ ಹಚ್ಚೇವು ಕನ್ನಡದ ದೀಪ ಹಚ್ಚೇವು ಕನ್ನಡದ ದೀಪ.
It is on the dais. And now the chief guest, Mr. Nilesh Sachdev. I would like to request Mr. Nilesh Sachdev to address the gathering.
Good morning, everyone. So I need to start with apology on two fronts. One is maybe I'll use more English. I have my colleague. I can ask her to translate for me, but we'll do that in the technical session. And second, I think I should apologize because I forgot to take my shoes off, which I came to know is not good. But yeah, so the topic for today that we all, I want to say basically set the context here, because we all are here, we have devoted our valuable time, and we are talking about two very different topics. One is carbon trading and second is sustainable agriculture practices, and we are trying to see how we can basically combine both to work in the welfare of farmers or give maybe farmers some extra. So I'll take just 1 minute on each of these topics separately so that you understand what we are trying to achieve. So carbon trading, very simply, we all know what stock market is today. Stock markets, how they function. There are companies which are at different valuations. Everybody can purchase a stock and sell a stock and earn some money, right? Carbon trading or carbon credits will be a stock like all the companies today in years to come. Everybody, like respected Patilji mentioned, everybody in the world now acknowledges that climate change is one of the bigger problems, and to answer to that problem, people are trying to figure out, and they believe that market is one of the best solutions, wherein you let people work for climate change and maybe get some incentive out of that. That is how carbon trading has come up. It is portrayed to be the second biggest market in the world in next 10 to 15 years, running into billions of dollars. But the entire reason behind that is very simple. There is a problem, which is climate change. We have to find a solution. There is no single solution. Like for example, agriculture can help. Similarly, cement production can help. Similarly, electric vehicles can help. So everything can help and everything can get its own value out of it. So it is very simply upcoming stocks market wherein every technology, every methodology will be able to get some value out of it. And why I mentioned this is not a commodity but a stock, reason being every methodology will have a different price. We expect credits coming out of agriculture to be the most expensive ones because they have multiple benefits beyond carbon dioxide. As a farmer who is subsistence farmer whose earning is not much, their value, their livelihood, their entire well-being, that combines with the carbon benefit gives you the better price. So we believe that credits coming out of agriculture should be one of the most, let's say, well respected and well priced commodity out there. So that is for the carbon trading part. But on the sustainable agriculture practices, again I feel why India is very well suited for this entire thing is because traditionally if you look at, most of our practices were anyways very much environmental sensitive. I mean, we were one of the better practitioners of traditional agriculture. And when we talk about sustainable agriculture practices, it is nothing but going back to those roots combined with the new scientific knowledge that we have attained. So it is not something that is alien to our farmers. These are very, very small changes. These are things that anyways our generations before we were used to do. Now it is all about imbibing that again in our agriculture practices, and while doing so, maybe we can get some more revenue for our farmers. So we believe these two are very different things, carbon trading and agriculture practices, but they are very simple in their own sense. Company like Kosher, respected people like Mr. Ravi, we are all trying to combine this so that we can get more value for our farmers using this upcoming mechanism. And that is the sort of agenda that we have today, that we want to make sure that we, all of us in the hall today, can understand how this can work and maybe work for it again together. Thank you so much. I'll take more on the technical session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nilesh, for your brief introduction of the stock market, the climate change, and the biggest market in India, earning billion, trillions of dollars, and the benefits of the carbon credits from agriculture to have sustainable agriculture. And the most important thing is the India's suitability in terms of carbon trading. So thank you very much, sir. So now may I request Dr. Rajendra Hegde, sir, to address the gathering, sir.
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ವೇದಿಕೆ ಮೇಲಿರುವಂಥ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಹನೀಯರಿಗೆ ಹಾಗೂ ವೇದಿಕೆಯ ಮುಂಭಾಗದಲ್ಲಿರುವಂಥ ನಮ್ಮ ಭಾಳಷ್ಟು ನಮ್ಮ ಟೀಚರ್ಸ್ಗಳು, ಸೀನಿಯರ್ಸು, ಕಲೀಗ್ಸು ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನನ್ನ ಅನಂತ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರಗಳು. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಲ್, I was, when Dr. A.B. Patil sir asked me to come for the inauguration, I was, still I am confused why I was invited, because I'm no way connected with this this carbon marketing, but because our bureau, National Bureau of Soil Survey and Land Use Planning, it is involved in estimation of this carbon stocks, particularly in soil, because soil is the huge reservoir of carbon, soil carbon, and the potential is very high. And we have been doing the estimations for the last more than 75 years, because our bureau started in 1952, and from there onwards we have been documenting or generating the data on the land resources, in which one of the important parameter is soil organic carbon status. So the today's topic, that is the carbon trading and its utility, particularly for the farmers, economic benefits for the farmers, and also for the climate. So this is a very interesting topic, because for us also it's a really learning experience, because we are just all these years we are involved in only data generation, but this how this data generation and these data sets will be useful for the farming community as well as for the climate, that we are going to understand. So that's what we hope the people, the experts who have been invited here will be telling us, and we will be enlightened with these new ideas. And the topic is very much relevant, because we all know that in the recent budget also, the present government, both at the state and at the central level, they have been promoting the natural farming in a very big way. A huge budget is also allocated, and we have been, the research institutes under Government of India are also been asked to promote in various ways. We have been given the task to initiate the activities and report it very regularly. Coming to some of the experiences, very briefly, I want to share a few experiences of us, because from 2014, we have been working in Karnataka state in a project called Sujala 3, it is a project, 2014 to 2019, we completed one project wherein we captured the land resources database for nearly 14.5 million hectares, 14.5 lakh hectares, means 1.4 million hectares in rain-fed areas of Karnataka, where this organic carbon status is one of the important parameters. Of course, there are all other parameters we have captured. So the important findings is we have seen that in many watersheds, particularly in districts like Tumkur, Chamarajnagar, and these red soil areas, the organic carbon status is has become very critical. So in some of the watersheds in Tumkur, it is we want at least 0.5% organic carbon, soil organic carbon in the soil for a healthy agricultural production. But in some of the watersheds, 96% of the plots were even deficient in soil organic carbon. Means the potential is very huge to increase the soil organic carbon. But at the same time, one of the findings of long-term fertility experiments at GKVK, so wherein they are growing in the long-term fertility experiments ragi and maize, and they are applying recommended levels of NPK plus 15 tons of FOM and lime for the last 33 years. The initial soil organic carbon status was just 0.46, and after 33 years, after application of recommended levels of fertilizers, 15 tons of FOM and lime, and they are growing the sequence of ragi and maize for the last 33 years, the increase in soil organic carbon is just 0.2. Now it has reached after 33 years 0.46 to 0.65. So this is a very, very tough job increasing the organic carbon status in these agricultural fields where field crops are dominant crops. But whereas our own study of my colleague Dr. Ramesh Kumar is here, he has undertaken a project in a Rajan Kunte watershed. So it was studied in 80s when this watershed program was implemented, and again he has taken up the study of the watersheds in 2004-05. Because of the change in the cropping system, that is there is a huge shift from the field crops to the horticulture crops. So what he found is when the horticulture crops are included, particularly these, because they are management is also very intensive, like grapes, mango, and many such crops. So the increase in the organic carbon condition is very, very encouraging. There is even it has crossed 0.75 also in many plots when the horticulture crops are included in the last 15-20 years. I think after 20 years he has undertaken once again in these watersheds. So similarly, at the very large scale, at our national scale, our bureau has undertaken pre-green revolution and post-green revolution, what is the status of this soil organic carbon. And one of our senior colleagues, Dr. Bhattacharya, he has published a large number of research papers also on this. So they have indicated that in northwest region of India, we were thinking that the organic carbon status is going down drastically, but it is not so. It's a large scale study, means not a plot-wise information. So where they have found that the organic carbon status is maintained because of the green revolution practices. Whereas in the northern plains, that's Ganga Yamuna, the Maidan what we call, where very intensive agriculture is taking place. With the introduction of green revolution technologies, the soil organic carbon status is improving, but it is not so in South Indian states because of the practices of frequent flowing and very high rapid rate of oxidation. So these are the kinds of findings we are noticing in soil organic carbon status. And coming to the one of the important experiments in IHR, Indian Institute of Horticulture Research, in the mango plantations, when they introduced intercrops like the leguminous intercrops, they have found that it not only improved the mango productivity, it has improved the soil organic carbon status also. with the introduction of this one. So in large areas where these plantation crops are grown, the perennial plantation crops are grown, so it provides a huge opportunity to increase the soil organic carbon through this sustainable agriculture practice what we are talking, particularly with the introduction of legumes and such crops. So these are all the things we have been noticing in our studies. In Karnataka, we are working very intensively with the state watershed development department. At present, we have just last year we have started a project called Reward, rejuvenation of agriculture resilience through innovative development, that is called Reward. It is implemented in Karnataka and Orissa, and now many states are coming into this fold, where we are generating the land resource inventory at a 1:10,000 scale, means plot-wise information we are generating. It is first of its kind in the entire nation, and fortunately the government of India has noted the development of these developments, and in Prime Minister's Krishi Sinchai Yojana, PMKSY Watershed Development Program, now this is being implemented in 10% of the areas in the PMSKY 2 project. So this land resource inventory based interventions. And just last 2 days back only, another project Karnataka government has initiated, that is called as SEPMIJ, means Comprehensive Environmental Planning for Mine Impact Zones. So where these 4 districts, Chitradurga, Bellary, Vijayanagara and Tumkur, where the mining activity is in a very high scale, where they have collected this royalty for mining from the mining companies. So they have accumulated almost 25,000 crores for addressing these issues. So the Green Tribunal and the judicial, this one is intervention has taken, you must have been reading in the newspapers also. So now they have initiated the project. Again here also we are capturing the land resource inventory at a plot level and trying to implement these sustainable practices to improve the soil health, through soil health, the plant health and the animal and human health. So these are all the initiatives we have been taken. So we will be very happy to share our data sets and whatever our expertise we have, because we have the scientists from varied disciplines like soil science, agriculture, economics, agronomy, geographic information system, then environmental science, soil and water conservation engineer. So all the scientists we are working at our institute, and we will be happy to share this one with all the stakeholders, whether it is of course with the departments already, and Karnataka has become the forefront in this watershed planning and management, because we have now established a digital portal also for sharing the digital data of soil resources. So another 20 lakh hectares we are generating, we have started now. Under SEPMIJ again 3 lakh hectares. Under watershed development for drought prevention another 5 lakh hectares. Like that, Karnataka is showing the way to other states also in this watershed development through the site specific and plot wise information, soil resource information, a very fine scale the soil data is being used by the departments, generated and used by the departments for promoting the agriculture development in the state. So with this few words, I will close my inaugural talk. Thank you for inviting us and sharing few of our thoughts, as well as giving us an opportunity to learn more about the climate carbon market and the credit, these things. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Hegde sir. You have briefly explained about the relationship of soil to carbon trading, the usability which is very much required, because there are a lot of opportunities and challenges in carbon trading, and usability of the soil data, what you just spoke, is a very important input for carbon trading. The soil health improvement, the projects like Reward, CRAMS, and the digitalization, and Karnataka is on the top among the other states, and this is Karnataka will guide the other states in terms of generating the soil data which will help the carbon trading. Thank you very much, sir. So, now I request Sri Mahantappa sir to address the gathering, sir.
ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಈ ದಿನ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಟ್ರೇಡಿಂಗ್ ಥ್ರೂ ಸಸ್ಟೈನಬಲ್ ಅಗ್ರಿಕಲ್ಚರ್ ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟೀಸಸ್ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ವಿಷಯದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಒಂದು ವಿಚಾರ ಸಂಕಿರಣವನ್ನು ಏರ್ಪಾಡು ಮಾಡಿ ಇದರ ಒಂದು ಉದ್ಘಾಟನಾ ಭಾಗವನ್ನು ಈಗ ಮುಗಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ಮುಖ್ಯವಾದ ತಾಂತ್ರಿಕ ಅಧಿವೇಶನ ನಂತರ ಪ್ರಾರಂಭ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಈ ಒಂದು ವೇದಿಕೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಆಶ್ರಯಿತರಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸನ್ಮಾನ್ಯರೇ, ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಭಾಗಿಯಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಕೃಷಿ ತಂತ್ರಜ್ಞರ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹಿರಿಯ ಸದಸ್ಯರುಗಳೇ, ನಾವು ನಮ್ಮ ಒಂದು ಈ ಕೃಷಿ ತಂತ್ರಜ್ಞರ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ಅಡಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಅನೇಕ ತಾಂತ್ರಿಕ ವಿಷಯಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ವಿಚಾರ ಸಂಕಿರಣವನ್ನು ಆಗಾಗ ಏರ್ಪಾಡು ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ಅದರಲ್ಲೂ ಸರ್ಕಾರದ ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಇತ್ತೀಚೆಗೆ ಪ್ರಕಟಗೊಂಡಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಅಥವಾ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಪ್ರಾಮುಖ್ಯತೆ ಕೊಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ವಿಷಯಗಳನ್ನು ಆಯ್ಕೆ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಅದರ ಆ ಒಂದು ವಿಷಯಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಪರಿಣತಿಯನ್ನು ಹೊಂದಿರತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಸಂಪನ್ಮೂಲ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಗಳನ್ನು ಕರೆಸಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಒಂದು ಕೃಷಿ ತಂತ್ರಜ್ಞರ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ಸದಸ್ಯರುಗಳಿಗೆ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನು ಕೊಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು, ಆ ಮೂಲಕ ಅವರ ಒಂದು ನಾಲೆಡ್ಜ್ ಲೆವೆಲನ್ನು ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ, ಜೊತೆಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ರೈತರ ಜಮೀನುಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಒಂದು ತಾಂತ್ರಿಕತೆಗಳನ್ನು ಅಳವಡಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಆಗ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಕೆಲಸವನ್ನು ನಾವು ಈ ಒಂದು IIT ಮೂಲಕ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ. ಇದುವರೆಗೆ ತಮ್ಮ ಉದ್ಘಾಟನಾ ಭಾಷಣದಲ್ಲಿ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ರಾಜೇಂದ್ರ ಹೆಗಡೆ ಅವರು ಅನೇಕ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಗಳು, ಅದರಲ್ಲೂ ಸುಜಲ ರಿವಾರ್ಡ್ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಯೋಜನೆಗಳನ್ನು ಜಲಾನಯನ ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿಯ ಮೂಲಕ ಮಾಡಿ, ಆ ಮೂಲಕ ಏನು ರೈತರ ಜಮೀನುಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಆರ್ಗ್ಯಾನಿಕ್ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಕಂಟೆಂಟನ್ನು ಅಥವಾ ಸಾವಯವ ಇಂಗಾಲದ ಪ್ರಮಾಣವನ್ನು ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಕೈಗೊಂಡಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಕ್ರಮಗಳು, ಅದರಲ್ಲೂ ಪ್ರಮುಖವಾಗಿ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ರಾಜ್ಯದ ಜಲಾನಯನ ಇಲಾಖೆ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ತಮಗೆ ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ನಾನು ಸಹ ಸುಮಾರು 7-8 ವರ್ಷಗಳ ಕಾಲ ಈ ಜಲಾನಯನ ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿ ಇಲಾಖೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲಸ ನಿರ್ವಹಿಸ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರೇನು ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಹೆಗ್ಡೆ ಅವರು ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಗಳನ್ನು ಅನುಷ್ಠಾನ ಮಾಡಿ, ಆ ಮೂಲಕ ಈ ಸಾವಯವ ಇಂಗಾಲದ ಪ್ರಮಾಣವನ್ನು ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಮಾಡಿ ರೈತರಿಗೆ ಅನುಕೂಲ ಆಗ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಸಹ ನಾನು ಭಾಗವಹಿಸಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ನಂತರ ನೀಲೇಶ್ ಸಚ್ದೇವ್ ಅವರು ಸೂಕ್ಷ್ಮವಾಗಿ ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಟ್ರೇಡಿಂಗ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ, ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಸಸ್ಟೈನಬಲ್ ಅಗ್ರಿಕಲ್ಚರ್ ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟೀಸಸ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ತಿಳಿಸ್ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಮುಂದಿನ ಅಧಿವೇಶನದಲ್ಲಿ, ತಾಂತ್ರಿಕ ಅಧಿವೇಶನದಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರು ಸಮಗ್ರವಾಗಿ ಈ ಒಂದು ಏನು ಹೊಸ ವಿಷಯ ಇದೆ, ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಕ್ಲೈಮೇಟ್ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಬಹಳ ವರ್ಷಗಳಿಂದ ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ. ಕ್ಲೈಮೇಟ್ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಅಂಥದ್ದು ಬಹಳ ಇದು ವಾಸ್ಟ್ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟು. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಟ್ರೇಡಿಂಗ್ ಮಾತ್ರ ನಾವು ಆಯ್ಕೆ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಅದರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ತಮಗೆ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನು ಕೊಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಈ ದಿನ ನೀಲೇಶ್ ಸಚ್ದೇವ್ ಅವರನ್ನು, ಮಿಸ್ ವಿದ್ಯಾ ಕುಂಜಪ್ಪ ಅವರನ್ನು ಮತ್ತು ರವಿ ತ್ರಿವೇದಿ ಅವರನ್ನು ಆಯ್ಕೆ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಅವರನ್ನ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಆಸೀನರಾಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಈಗ ತಮಗೆ ಅವರು ಈ ಒಂದು ವಿಷಯದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನು ಕೊಡಲಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ತಾವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಸದುಪಯೋಗವನ್ನು ಪಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ, ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಉದ್ಘಾಟನಾ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಒಂದು ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷತೆಯನ್ನು ವಹಿಸಿ ಮಾತನಾಡಲು ಅವಕಾಶ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಟ್ಟ ತಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೆ
ವೇದಿಕೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಇರತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಗಣ್ಯರಿಗೆ ಒಂದಿಸ್ತಾ ನಾನು ಮಾತನ್ನು ಮುಗಿಸ್ತೀನಿ. ನಮಸ್ತೆ.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು ಮಾಂತೇಶಪ್ಪ ಸರ್ ಅವರೇ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ವೆರಿ ಮಚ್ ಫಾರ್ ಯುವರ್ ಪ್ರೆಸಿಡೆನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಸ್ಪೀಚ್. The three important speakers which I already told, especially in carbon trading there are opportunities like additional income, climate change mitigation, soil health improvement, biodiversity conservation, sustainable land use, rural development. And of course there are challenges which I request the speakers to address. Difficulty of accurately measuring and verification of the carbon sequestration. Then issue of revenue, a lack of reliable data. Now Hegde sir has just told that there is a lot of digitization happening and a lot of data on the soil is also there, which we can made a best use of. And also the complex regulation they will have to touch upon, and the high transaction cost and the demand. There is a very much big demand in terms of carbon trading, and also there is a lot of lack of awareness among the farming community, among all the agricultural guys as well. So this is very important. And in a brief, the path forward is there should be some transparent process of quantification and verification of the data, and of course through artificial intelligence and the remote sensing. And we have to facilitate carbon trading participation through some of the organizations like Farmers Produce Organization, Bhumi Putra, and also Nurture. So a lot of awareness has to be created. So I request the three very important speakers to touch upon these challenges and the path forward. So thank you very much. And now I request the Secretary of the IIT, Mr. Virana Kamtar, to propose a vote of thanks, and later we'll have the technical session.
ತಾವೆಲ್ಲ ನಿರೀಕ್ಷೆ ಮಾಡಿದಂತೆ ಈ ಒಂದು ಸುಸ್ಥಿರ ಕೃಷಿ ಪದ್ಧತಿಗಳ ಮೂಲಕ ಸಾವಯವ ಇಂಗಾಲ ಮಾರುಕಟ್ಟೆಯ ಉದ್ಘಾಟನಾ ಸಮಾರಂಭವನ್ನು ವಿದ್ಯುಕ್ತವಾಗಿ ಈ ಮುಗಿಸೋ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಅಡಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ವೇದಿಕೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಆಸೀನರಾದಂಥ ಗಣ್ಯರಿಗೆ ವಂದನಾರ್ಪಣೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಉದ್ಘಾಟಕರಾಗಿ ಆಗಮಿಸಿ ನಿಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಸಾಯಿಲ್ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ವಿಷಯಗಳನ್ನು ತಿಳಿಸಿಪಟ್ಟುಕೊಂಡಂಥ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ರಾಜೇಂದ್ರ ಹೆಗಡೆ, ಫಾರ್ಮರ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಆಫ್ NBSS ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ LUP ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಇವರಿಗೆ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಹಾಗೂ ತಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕವಾದ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷತೆಯನ್ನು ವಹಿಸಿದಂಥ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ಉಪಾಧ್ಯಕ್ಷರಾದಂಥ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಎಂ ಮಾಂತೇಶಪ್ಪ ಸರ್ ಅವರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ತಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಹಾಗೂ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕವಾದ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ಜೊತೆಗೆ 3 ಜನ ಸ್ಪೀಕರ್ಸ್ ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವರಿಗೆ ನಮ್ಮಿಂದ ನಿರೀಕ್ಷೆಗಳು ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇದ್ದಾವೆ. ಆ ನಿರೀಕ್ಷೆಗೆ ತಕ್ಕಂತೆ ಒಂದು ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕಲ್ ಸೆಷನ್ನು ಪವರ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟೇಷನ್ ಮೂಲಕ ಅವರು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಮುಖ್ಯವಾಗಿ ನೀಲೇಶ್ ಸಜ್ದೇವ್ ಅವರು ಆಗಲೇ ತಮ್ಮ ವಿಷಯಗಳನ್ನು ಮಂಡಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಸೂಕ್ಷ್ಮವಾಗಿ. ಅವರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಹಾಗೂ ತಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ಮಿಸ್ ವಿದ್ಯಾ ಕುಂಜಪ್ಪ ಕೂಡ ಸೀನಿಯರ್ ಕನ್ಸಲ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಕೋಶಲ್ ಕ್ಲೈಮೇಟ್, ಇವರನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಹಾಗೂ ತಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕವಾದ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ. ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಇನ್ನೋರ್ವ ಸಂಪನ್ಮೂಲ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ ಶ್ರೀ ರವಿ ತ್ರಿವೇದಿ, ಕ್ಲೈಮೇಟ್ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಪ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟ್ಸ್, ಇವರನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಹಾಗೂ ತಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ಈ ಒಂದು ಉದ್ಘಾಟನಾ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಹಿರಿಯ ಇಲಾಖೆಯ ಅಪರ ನಿರ್ದೇಶಕರಾದಂಥ ಸದಾಶಿವ ಸರ್, ಬಾಲರೆಡ್ಡಿ ಸರ್, ನಂಜಪ್ಪ ಸರ್, ವೀರಭದ್ರಯ್ಯ ಸರ್, ಮಂಜುನಾಥ್ ಅವರು ಹಾಗೂ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹಿರಿಯ IITians, ನೆಬಾರ್ಡಿಂದ ಹುಲಗೂರು ಸರ್ ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ನಿವೃತ್ತ ಹಿರಿಯ ಅಧಿಕಾರಿಗಳು, ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನು ಹೇಳುತ್ತಾ, ಯಾರು ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಇರ್ತದೆ ನಾವು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಇನಾಗ್ರೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಂಥ ಎಲ್ಲ ಜನರು ಕೂಡ ಕೆಳಗೆ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ಈ ಒಂದು ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕಲ್ ಸೆಷನ್ ಟೀ ಕೂಡ ಇಲ್ಲೇ ಸಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಚಹಾ ಬ್ರೇಕ್ ಕೂಡ ಇಲ್ಲ, ತಮಗೆ ಟೀ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಈ ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕಲ್ ಸೆಷನ್ ಈ ಪವರ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟೇಷನ್ ಮೂಲಕ ಪ್ರಾರಂಭವಾಗ್ತವೆ. ವಿದ್ಯುಕ್ತವಾಗಿ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಎಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕಲ್ ಸ್ಪೀಕರ್ಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಕಮಿಂಗ್ ಡೌನ್. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ವೆರಿ ಮಚ್. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಒನ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಆಲ್.
ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಸರ್ ಓಕೆ ಓಕೆ Well, the technical session, the main core of the program will start now. Of course, carbon trading is a new thing for we agriculture graduates, and I request all the participants to make a note of it, and there should be a lot of interaction, reaction, interaction as well. Okay, then first I request Mr. Nilesh Sachdev to start with, and I would like to request Dr. A.B. Patil sir to introduce Mr. Nilesh Sachdev. Patil sir.
ಪ್ರಾರಂಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಒಂದು ನೂತನವಾದ ವಿಷಯಕ್ಕೆ IIT ಇಂದನೇ ಪ್ರಾರಂಭ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಈ ರೀತಿಯಾದಂಥ ವಿನೂತನ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಗಳಿಗೆ ಸಂಪನ್ಮೂಲ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಗಳನ್ನು ಹುಡುಕಿ ಮುಂಬರುವ ದಿನಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಮಹತ್ವ ಪಡೆತಕ್ಕಂಥ ವಿಷಯವನ್ನು ನಮ್ಮ ಕೃಷಿ ತಂತ್ರಜ್ಞರಿಗೆ ಹಾಗೂ ರಾಜ್ಯದ ಕೃಷಿಕರಿಗೆ ತಿಳಿಸಿ ಹೇಳುವ ಮೂಲಕ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ಏರ್ಪಡಿಸಿದ್ದೇವೆ. ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ನಾವು ಅರಣ್ಯ ಕೃಷಿ ರೈತರ ಹಾಗೂ ತಂತ್ರಜ್ಞರ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ IIFT ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯಿಂದ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಮಲ್ಲೇಶ್ ಅವರು ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಈ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ಮೂಲಕ ಇದೇ ವಿಷಯದ ಮೇಲೆ ಒಂದು ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ ವೆಬಿನಾರ್ ಕೂಡ ನಾವು ಹೋದ ತಿಂಗಳ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ. ಆವಾಗ ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳು ಮತ್ತು ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟನ್ನು ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಸಿಪೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದವರು ತೋರಿಸಿದರು. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಇದನ್ನು ಫಿಸಿಕಲ್ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲೇ ಯಾಕೆ IIT ಇಂದ ಮಾಡಬಾರ್ದು, ಇನ್ನೂ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಸದಸ್ಯರು ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಇದರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಅರಿಕೆ ಮೂಡಿಸೋಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಂಡು ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಹಾಕ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ವಿ. ಪ್ರಸ್ತುತ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಕೋಶರ್ ಕ್ಲೈಮೇಟ್ ಆರ್ಗನೈಜೇಷನ್ನು ಈ ಒಂದು ವಿಷಯ ಕುರಿತು ಏನು ಯೋಜನೆಗಳನ್ನು ರೂಪಿಸಿ ಅಧ್ಯಯನ ಮಾಡಿ ಯೋಜನಾವಾರು ರೈತರಿಗೆ ರಾಜ್ಯದ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಎಮಿಷನ್ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಮಾಡೋದರಿಂದ ಕೃಷಿಯ ಸುಸ್ಥಿರತೆಯನ್ನು ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಮಾಡಿ ಕೃಷಿಕರಿಗೆ ಆದಾಯವನ್ನು ಕೊಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಇವತ್ತು ಸಂಪನ್ಮೂಲ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಗಳಾಗಿ ಬಂದಂಥ ಕೋಶರ್ ಕ್ಲೈಮೇಟ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಹೆಡ್ ಆಗಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ನಮ್ಮ ಆತ್ಮೀಯ ನಿಲೇಶ್ ಸಚ್ದೇವ್ ಅವರು ಕ್ಲೈಮೇಟ್ ಈ ಒಂದು ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಜೊತೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇವರು ಆಸ್ಟ್ರೇಲಿಯಾ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಕೌನ್ಸಿಲ್ ಸುಸ್ಥಿರತೆ ಸಮಿತಿಯ ಮೌಲ್ಯಯುತ ಸದಸ್ಯರೂ ಆಗಿರ್ತಾರೆ ಮತ್ತು ವಿಶ್ವಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ಪರಿಸರ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಮಾಂಟ್ರಿಯಲ್ ಪ್ರೋಟೋಕಾಲಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಇವರು ಸಂಪನ್ಮೂಲ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಯಾಗಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಈ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ಯುವಕರು ಜಾಗತಿಕ ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಗೂ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರ ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಮತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ರಾಜ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ವಿಷಯನ್ನೇ ಕುರಿತು ನೂತನವಾಗಿ ಅಧ್ಯಯನ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ಕೈಗೆತ್ತಿಕೊಂಡವ್ರನ್ನ ನಾವು ಕರೆದು ನಾವು ಅವರಿಂದ ಈ ಒಂದು ವಿಷಯಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ಮುನ್ನಡೆ ಬರೆಸೋಣ ಅಂತ ಕರೆದಿವೆ. ಈ ವಿಷಯಕ್ಕೆ ನಿಲೇಶ್ ಸಚ್ದೇವ್ ಅವರು ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ವೇದಿಕೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಬಂದು ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಭಾಗವಹಿಸಿ ಅವರ ವಿಷಯ ಮಂಡನೆಯನ್ನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕಂತ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊತೀನಿ. ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು.
Thank you, Patil sir. I think we have had a lot of introduction already, so it is better to just directly dive deep into the topic that was given to us today. And I would like to thank Vidya for helping me out. She is more than capable, but right now in this at least she will just help me in translating and make sure that every one of here we get what we want from today. So So before we go into what needs to be done, I think it is important for us to understand the numbers or the context that we are talking about here. So although all of us we feel that agriculture is green and it's there, but at the same time there are a lot of emissions, lot of pollution which is happening because of agriculture as well. If you look at some of these things, what we are talking about is about 46 million hectares of land which is under rice. They contribute almost 71,000 gigatons, which means just to put this in context, all the airlines in the world combined are not even half of this. So agriculture in itself is a huge, I wouldn't say one of the major contributors, but it is also one of the significant contributors of GHG emissions, of carbon dioxide emissions, of climate change. And this is prima facie because of a lot of practices that we are now doing which are very, very intensive. Vidya, do you want to just...
So as you can see, rice cultivation actually accounts for 17.49% of the GHG emissions. This is actually statistics. So this is actually the statistics for the Indian agriculture sector. So globally, as we go forward, we can see, and also Dr. Dr. Hegde was talking about the soil organic content, how it has fallen through years. So you can see that the soil organic carbon content in India has fallen to 0.3% from 1% over a period of 70 years. So, and 60% of Indian land is under agriculture, and it employs basically 2/3 of the workforce in India. And I think we can move forward.
So basically, if I can say that very simply, agriculture is also part of the problem. How we are going to convert that problem into a solution is what we are trying to identify today. So if you look at global agriculture emissions, about 19.9 gigatons today as of now is happening because of agriculture, and if we continue to do it the way we are doing it, another 3.5 gigatons we are about to add. So that means about 23.4 gigatons of emission it is expected to be done by agriculture. And when we say by agriculture, let us also try and understand very quickly as to what is the distribution, how this 23 gigatons are going to come. So if you look at the specifics below, you will find the major reasons for it. As I said, rice cultivation contributes about 2 gigatons. LULC, which is the second one, which is about land use and land conversion, which means all the land that we are shifting away from natural forests, community forests into cultivation, that is leading to emissions. Enteric fermentation, incidentally, this is the largest component, and this is nothing but all the burps that is happening by our cows, by our livestock. Every livestock, whenever they burp, which means whenever they digest their food, they release methane, which is very counterintuitive, we don't even realize, but that is one of the major contributors. In fact, just to give you an idea, New Zealand has a law which makes sure that all the cattle in New Zealand can only emit a certain amount of carbon dioxide or methane. That is the level of work which is happening. And they are using it, and they are trying to reduce that by using various enzymes, by using various digestive enzymes, which make sure that it breaks down the food faster, and it breaks down the food in a way which is less methane intensive. So a lot of work which is happening on this side. Then there is about 1.8 gigatons of manure, which means all the manure that we are using, some of that get oxidized into the atmosphere and goes away as methane or carbon dioxide emissions. Then there are small components like on-farm energy use, synthetic fertilizers that we are using. a big, so although as a component it is small, but if you look at burning of crop residue, it is, as a component it is small, but it is most, let's say, damaging in the short term. It is the reason being the intensity is very high, which means when you look at the crop residue burning schedule, all the farms in one specific period of 10 to 15 days, they just burn, everybody burns. So the intensity becomes very high. So overall it is not that big, but if you look at it from microclimate perspective, it is one of the biggest problems that we are facing. Everybody knows that our capital city Delhi, every year they are blanketed under smog for at least 4 weeks, which is a combination of when the parali is burned in the northwestern states of Punjab and Haryana. So it's a big problem, specifically from a microclimate perspective. And there are other related to use of machinery and all. So the idea for this slide is very simple, is to make you understand and how agriculture, what components of agriculture are relating to emissions. Because when we understand components, then we understand where the opportunity is. Now whether we have shown you that these are the different things that consume and release emissions, then reduction in each of them is actually an opportunity. So for example, we can go from left to right. Like I said, in the enteric fermentation, there are now enzymes which are now available, which make sure that the cattle is going down. We are even working on a project with cow sheds in Madhya Pradesh to try and reduce the emissions that is happening from cow sheds. Land use, converting more of community land back into forest will give you credits. Rice cultivation, reducing methane from rice by reducing by introducing a method which is called alternate wetting and drying will give you credits. Manures, all the manure that is currently not being used and it is being released into let's say into environment, can be converted into biogas, that will give you credits. On-farm energy use, all the pumping that we are doing which is related to diesel consumption in pumps, you convert that into solar pumps, that will give you credits. Synthetic fertilizers, so all the fertilizers, specifically nitrogen that we are using, which is related to nitrification, that relates to nitrous oxide emissions. If you use inhibitors, if you reduce that will give you credits. Burning of crop residue, if you reduce the amount of area that is burning, that will give you credits. So similarly, everything here is an opportunity for us to look into. It is an opportunity for farmers, for I would also like to highlight at this point, it is, it is not really responsibility of farmers. It is responsibility of organization like us, of people who are here, because we are blessed with a unique opportunity of understanding both sides. It is our responsibility to then educate farmer as to what can be done. Because what we believe is, unless we really educate them, we really tell them that this is how it will be beneficial, and it's not just about carbon credits, all of this is beneficial for his land, for his fertility as well. So if we make them understand, then I think we can definitely look at a larger portion. So we actually came up with a path. What we said was, okay, now these are the problems which are there. How can we make a path which is in line with the global climate change target? So if you look at globally, the climate change target has been set as 2 degrees rise. So if I have to make sure that the overall global temperature doesn't increase by more than 2%, then we have to follow a pathway. In agriculture, we have made a pathway which is basically, we call it as a regenerative agriculture. It's a very common term, but the idea of regenerative agriculture is to make sure that we inculcate all the practices and ultimately reach a stage wherein all those practices are then imbibed on the farm. Because it is not a one day challenge, as I think Dr. Patil also mentioned. It's something which will take time, but we'll have to start today, and we'll have to start with small steps. So we have divided the entire implementation into three parts. One is basic, then is intermediate, and third is advanced. So when we say basic, what activities can we do? What things can we do on a farm which will make sure that our farmers can get some incentives? So we have put a collection of that. I'll give you just one by one. First is, for example, no tillage. Most of the times when we till the ground, we are disturbing the organic semblance, organic balance that has been there in the ground. The more we reduce it, the better it is. Direct seeding again is a part of no tillage as well, wherein instead of plowing and the entire thing, you can do the direct seeding bit. Cover cropping. So cover cropping as such is not, as I said, a lot of this is not new. Most of the farmers, most of our traditional knowledge actually talked about this, actually talked about the symbiotic relationship that exists between various ecosystems. So cover cropping is nothing wherein we are introducing something like a cover crop or a leguminous crop in between various cash crops to make sure that the farm is getting naturally rejuvenated. Nitrogen management, as I said, all the nitrogen that we are currently giving, a bulk of it, because what happens is when we give nitrogen in bulk, but the plant only takes a set percentage of this. Balance is simply gone into the atmosphere as something called nitrous dioxide. And nitrous dioxide is 280 times more potential than carbon. So it is that much more harming to the environment. So nitrogen is of course a big part, and it makes so much sense for India to invest into it, because a lot of our urea, I think, I won't know the number, but I think majority percentage of the urea that we are using anyways is imported. So if we are reducing it, we are reducing our subsidy burden, we are reducing our all the wastage. I mean, ultimately we are importing something and we are letting it out into the atmosphere with no real use for us. So it is one of the major topics of discussion. Then of course crop residue management and the inputs. So the first set says what things can be done, but the second set says what we need in terms of making this work. We are very happy that Mr. Hegde is here, because we are now trying to do a lot of work on the analysis bit on the soil side, and to try and understand how much each of these interventions can help us with soil rejuvenation, because ultimately it's the extent of soil rejuvenation which decides the credits. There are, I'll also take this moment to make sure if you are making notes that you understand. In agriculture there are three different types of project types. Very simple, there are only three. Number one, anything related to methane. So if you are doing rice cultivation that is leading to methane, you reduce methane emissions, you can get credits. Number two, nitrous oxide, which is nitrogen related. Anything related to nitrogen, you reduce your nitrogen application and you can get credits for that. Third, that is called as sequestration, which is what Hegde sir was also talking about, which means you do any of these practices which improves the capacity of your soil to sequester carbon, which means if a soil has more organic content, it will be able to hold more carbon dioxide. That is the largest sink possible to mankind today. We are going, so our vehicles, our factories, our power plants, everybody is letting out carbon dioxide. Who can capture the carbon dioxide? Currently there are only three possibilities. Number one, trees. You plant trees, trees can capture carbon dioxide. Number two, which is being word, which is called as DAC, direct air capture. So technologies are being made which are directly capturing carbon dioxide from the environment, and they are converting it into various things. It can be cement blocks, it can be anything. Number three is the soil. We have a large amount of soil. If we are just able to increase the organic content of our soil sequesters carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and it keeps it locked. That is the biggest carbon sink that we all have. All of us have seen the campaign, large campaign done by Sadhguruji on Save Soil, although it took a different dimension, but if you save soil, you save environment. It's a fact, and all of us, we just need to focus on soil and it'll work on itself. So just 3 types of project types, and every project that you'll see, every project that people will tell you will be either methane, will be nitrogen dioxide, or will be regenerative agriculture. That is it. So in intermediate implementation, we are talking about again similar things like mulching or legume crop rotation. What we are talking about is a more intensive approach in intermediate, which means we are talking about bioleaching inhibitors, which are nothing but inhibitors which reduce the nitrogen uptake. So whenever we put nitrogen, instead of releasing it immediately, these inhibitors, they release it in a small amount, so that the plant is capturing it better, and that is where less nitrification is happening and less nitrogen dioxide. So these are same sort of initiatives but with a more rigorous approach. And in the advanced one, we are talking about intercropping, which is again, as sir also pointed out, it has been looked at. Intercropping as well as agroforestry are one of the major tools to increase the SOC levels. They help on 2 levels. One, large trees, they sequester carbon up by themselves. If you look at a very simple process, whenever a tree grows, its leaves, they process carbon dioxide, they make food. The food is absorbed as energy, carbon is stocked as a mass. So all the tree trunk is nothing but carbon stock. So large trees, they capture a large amount of carbon stock. So this helps in multiple ways. One, when the tree grows, carbon is getting stocked. But second, because of all the associated work, which means when the dry leaves fall, when the dead wood fall, and it decays in the soil, that increases the soil organic content, which means the soil there then capture more carbon dioxide. So it has twin benefits of climate change, and that is why number of credits are more in that. Then of course livestock integration. We have also included something called biochar. It is being touted as some of the, again, one of the major initiatives that can help on multiple counts. Biochar is nothing. If you burn something, you are releasing carbon dioxide. If you burn wood, you release carbon dioxide. But instead of burning wood, you heat wood to a large, at a very high temperature. What that leads is, it starts locking the carbon. Instead of releasing the carbon dioxide, the carbon there gets into complex bonds, and it sort of sequesters for 99 plus years, which means the carbon in that wood is now locked. It is multiple benefits, because again you have carbon which has been stocked, but because of the porosity which is high, biochar is an excellent let's say additive to soil. Because the moisture holding capacity of biochar is many times more than soil. So your soil will require less water, less everything. So again, these are the things that we plan over next, I would say next decade, to focus on with step-by-step approach, and each of them can give credits. This is, I'll just combine them into a number so that we just have the final number in place, so that we can go into other things. Out of all the things that I said, it is at a study which is run recently, it is, if we combine all of them together, the benefits that are expected to accrue are about $8.5 billion per annum, which in current value it is about 70,000 crores. That is the value that can be unlocked by making sure we are doing all these initiatives over years. Okay, so now I'll go on to some projects that we are doing on ground. So as I said, our first intervention, which was planned in West Bengal and Assam, currently we are doing about almost 100,000 hectares in these two states, and we are doing another, I think 50,000 hectares in Telangana. We are doing about 20,000 hectares in UP, and focus of interventions for all three of projects is methane, which is the first project that we talked about. Why methane, and why this particular project it is important to understand is because it is very straightforward. You, like sir mentioned, soil organic improvement is a step-by-step and a long-term goal. So the changes that you see are very steady in long-term. But what we felt was, if we go to a farmer today and we tell him that you start doing something, in 5th year you will get some incentive. We feel that the entire purpose of that communication waters down, because nobody is able to perceive something that they'll do something and after 5 years they might get something. So we thought it is better to start off with something which is more immediate, which gives them some value immediately, and then you can build on top of it. So you can start with this and then you can build on top of it. Good part being, this is applicable for all rice areas. So right now we are focusing our projects in India, Laos, Vietnam and Cambodia, which are big rice belts. The intervention is very simple. Intervention is called as alternate wetting and drying. So this is from one of our farms in Bolpur, Shanti Niketan. We are partnered with Shanti Niketan University, and we are doing one plot there. So it's a simple practice. It's called AWD. It is part of SRI, which has been talked about for long. All it says is, because whenever you plant rice, you have flooded land. Because of the flooded land, there's a lot of methane emissions. All you need to do is start introducing drying periods, which means you flood your land and then let it dry. Once the water level is 6 centimeters below the ground, then you can dry it again, then you can wet it again. Plant will of course survive, because the root of the plants are strong enough and they are still in water. They have access to the water. So the plant will not dry out. There might be some added case of weeds, because water is not there, so weed might come up. Although in our current experience, this has not been a significant problem. And if by doing this just twice in the entire season, you are reducing sufficient methane to get credits. So it is not very, let's say it's not expensive. In fact, it saves a lot of cost, because now you are saving on pumping cost of water, you are saving on multiple other labor benefits. So it is not cost intensive. In fact, it is equal or less, and it can immediately give, because if you do it in one season, once the project is registered, we can just measure it, we can document that you have done it, and you can get the credits within next 6 to 8 months of doing this, and then the value that you will get around with it. In terms of, as I said, some numbers, about 36% reduction can be achieved by AWD compared to traditional flooded systems. So what we do is, as I've said, what we do is we have this very simple PVC pipe which we install in every plot. We have now installed almost 100,000, more than 1 lakh pipes across the plots, and we have an app which is wherein farmers can go, and once they are registered with the project, they can click photographs of the drying event, because that pipe will show the water level. So they can just click on that pipe, they can upload the pictures. By doing this, we are able to demonstrate one thing, that the drying event has happened. Combined with this, we have put our own lab. That lab is calculating on real-time basis how much methane has been saved by following that practice on a sample plot. So we are combining both of that, and we have just listed one of our, in fact 2 projects are listing today, wherein we are trying to get credits for this. In terms of numbers, I think this is what if I have to give you some numbers, because ultimately all of you will think of how much we'll get. So in our experience, in about 46 million hectares that is currently happening, at least, and these are conservative numbers, at least we are looking at 2 tons of carbon dioxide savings per hectare, which means in current market value, even at basic price, I would say at $8, we are looking at per hectare about 16. This is very conservative. This can go from 2, this 2 is for just one drying in one season. Lot of India has 2 crop seasons and 2 drying opportunities at least. So actual number can even be about 4 times of this. So the range that I can give you is a minimum of $16 per hectare to about $50 per hectare, which means at a minimum level it would be about 1300 to 1500 rupees for a farmer per hectare, to a maximum of about 3000 to 4000 rupees per hectare that a farmer can get by doing just a small change. As I said, even I think Patil sir mentioned that you will feel that revenue is not very high, it is not a life-changing amount, but ultimately that's not the idea. This is just a starting point. The idea is for us to start off in a way which can incentivize farmer to keep moving forward by not doing anything which is major. This is very easy to do, very simple to do, and he can get. Once that cash flow starts coming up, then we expect farmers to take it up on themselves. It's not, so this we believe is a good Kickstarter sort of campaign that can happen. And as you can see, current market opportunity just for India alone is about $1 billion, at a minimum 740 million at a minimum, to about $3 billion in total. So at this stage, because this is very critical, if you have any questions, I would want to take it, because I want everybody to understand this particular aspect. Anybody?
How do you quantify the emissions?
Sir, there are two components of quantification. I would say two components of monitoring. Number one, you have to demonstrate that a farmer has done this, because anybody can say I have done this, but how can you prove? So we are doing that through an app which identifies whether drying has happened or not. Second is quantification. So what happens is, in the picture that you saw, and also there is a website, we'll share the link and maybe we'll open it if the net connection is here. We are maintaining a website which is called Krishi at kosherclimate.com. It has live, we update it live, so it has various videos as well. So what we simply do is we put chamber boxes. So we maintain 9 plots. Currently we are maintaining 9 plots. Each of them are following AWD principle, and in those 9 plots, every plot has 3 sampling chambers. These sampling chambers are closed and they let build up the methane emissions which is happening in a central and in the environment, and every day we withdraw almost 500 samples from these chambers and process it in our lab to get the numbers. So we are trying to identify that number. Based on that only we are telling about 2 tons per hectare. Actual number can even go more, because it is contingent on the soil type, it is contingent on weather at which you are doing. It will be different for different price cycles. But yeah, it's a bit technical, but farmer doesn't need to go, because we don't need to put sampling chambers on every plot. What we'll do is, there is something called AEZ, agroecological zone. For every ecological zone, we will put a lab that will demonstrate that if AWD is happening in this agroecological zone, which is similar in pattern of cultivation, which is similar in practices, then this much methane can be reduced on a per hectare. Then with that number combined with how many hectares, we can combine the project and we can get the values. Hopefully that answers your question. Yeah.
Basically, I'm an economist.
Yes, sir.
This alternate drying wetting,
Yeah.
this is not a new concept.
Yes.
We have been hearing and you have been trying to
Yeah.
introduce in the farmers field
Yes.
since a long years.
Yes, sir.
But it's not working
Yes.
in the farmers field.
Yes.
What you are discussing it in the farmer's field?
Yes, sir.
Demonstration?
Yes, sir. We are doing about 100,000 hectares in West Bengal. That's what I'm saying. We have done it already in 100,000 hectares in West Bengal and Assam. The farmers are already doing it. It is not, and it is documented. We even have a website. You can check it. It is documented, approved.
But in the long run, if the farmers really they want to implement this alternate
Yes.
trading and betting,
Yes, sir.
it's very difficult to convince them to practice.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, sir. That is the whole idea, is to understand the apprehension, which you are saying is right.
If you are important with the impact on yields of
No impact what at all. In fact, I was I mentioned Patilji also. Yesterday I was in Cambodia. We were doing a research project with ARI, International Rice Research Organization. They have done a comparative study of 20 years with SRI in all major geographies. There has not been any single negative yield impact with SRI or with AWD ever. But what I get from sir, which is right, there is a lot of inhibition from the farmer for two reasons. Number one, labor intensive. As sir said, it is as soon as you take out water, you might get weeds, and then who will take out the weeds? Second, every time when you are introducing a drying period, in some cases, like sir said, if it's a low-lying area, it is very difficult to even get a drying period. So it is true what sir is saying, but what we have seen is it is doable in areas, we identify areas based on three potential. Number one, well irrigated. So like Telangana is one of the bigger belts that we are working with. So if it's a well irrigated, planned upland or medium land, there it can happen. Second, where the weed infestation is not very high, and in case where the weed infestation is there, there's something called cono weeder which is being used. And third, where 2 crop cycles are there, because then the revenue that we can give to the farmer is high, and that is where he gets they get incentivized or motivated to do it. With all due consideration, we believe it is difficult, of course, and that is where the challenge is, but we are here to try and solve the challenge. We are hopeful we should be able to do it.
In fact,
Yeah.
as an alternative to this,
Yes, sir.
we introduced aerobic rice cultivation in
In fact, sir, we are working with Shashidhar, sir. You are talking about aerobic rice. He is one of the founders. He is a consultant to our company. We have worked exhaustively with him in UAS as well as in Mandya on introducing aerobic rice. So we have this is one of the approach that we are talking about. That is another approach. We are also working on that. That is also a fantastic thing. If it happens, we will be more than happy. And we are anyways working with Shashidhar, sir, on the aerobic rice bit.
So far as yield of rice is concerned, you need to quantify or authenticate
Yes.
the yield difference between flooding and alternate
Yes, sir.
wetting and drying.
Yes, sir.
There will be difference in the yield.
Sir, so that is where I am coming across and saying that, it is a process. It is not something which is set in stone. So for example, I'll give you why. The carbon credit methodology itself disqualifies any project which has a negative yield compact. If I am trying to generate credit while not ensuring that the yield is similar or better, the international organization itself disqualifies the project. Your minimum has to be that the yield has to be similar or in the similar range, let's say, in the similar range. So again, for us, as I said, we have initiated, this is our first season, 100,000 hectares have already done it. We are maintaining this website called Krishi at Krishi Kosha Climate. We are regularly updating it every week with the data. We encourage everybody to have a look at it so that you can get real-time information as regarding yield, regarding methane emissions, regarding everything. So there, as you said, there could be, there will not be. Our intention would be to keep it at least basic minimum, and research says, at least research says, it is not impacting negatively to the tune that the project gets disqualified. Overall incentives are still better, right? Yeah.
Has to be reduced, everybody knows about it.
Yeah.
But what the farmer thinks, what is the benefit that he gets
Yes, sir.
by this?
Absolutely.
You said about credits.
Yes, sir.
In what form he gets? Will he get money?
Cash. Yeah, cash.
Now, who will give that cash?
We will give that cash.
How do you get, where do you get money? The government is giving you?
No, sir. So that's the entire role of carbon credit. Right? It builds a transparent mechanism. It gives a currency. If the farmer has done something, it gives him a tool. It's called as carbon credit certificate. That is a tradable instrument. We have buyers. So like Patil sir again mentioned, there are international companies across the world. Every single company. In fact, right now we work with Infosys also. We work with Reliance also. We work with so many companies. Most of them are willing to pay for these certificates, because what this certificate does is, if this is an international company, let's say Microsoft, they have target that every year they have to reduce set amount of carbon emissions. They target to reduce something in their operations, and then they believe that we can incentivize somebody else to reduce, because climate change is a global problem. If I am reducing or if you are reducing, it should not matter. If you can reduce it effectively, I will might as well pay you and do it. And that is the transformation that has happened. This is a well accepted, legally verified, government approved, internationally accepted instrument which is saleable in the market. So what we do is we aggregate farmers, we get these credits, we sell these credits. Once the money is there, we pass it on to the farmers. That is the channel that we are trying to build.
Who will buy these credits?
As I said, Microsoft, Google, Infosys, anybody and everybody will buy it. They currently buy as well.
That the government is interested in these projects.
We
On a large scale, it has to be done in the country.
we sincerely hope that the government provides an enabling framework to do this. At the same time, I've very carefully chosen the word as an enabling framework, because I believe there are very strong private companies, private incentives which can move faster and they can do the work. All we want that government should put framework in place so that everybody's interest is protected. Once that is there, market can take care of its work. That is
One
the reason.
example,
Yes.
supposing a farmer has got
Yeah.
5 acres
Yes, sir.
and you do demo on that,
Yes, sir.
involving all these things.
Yes, sir.
What is the money that he gets for the credit?
I give the number. Yeah. So let's say 5 acres. 5 acres roughly is 2 hectares. 2 hectares at a bare minimum, I can say if it's a single cropping rice, only one time, then they are talking about anywhere close to 4 to 5 credits, which in today's market is about $40-50, which is about 4,000 rupees that he can get.
You know, the money that these software companies are paying.
Yes, sir.
Is it under CSR or
No, sir.
what for?
No, sir. So what happens is there are 2 market systems. Even right now we are consulting Indian government. Indian government by the end of this year is coming up with domestic carbon market. What it is saying is there are 2 schemes. I can maybe go here and tell you about the market. Yeah, it is there. Yeah, so that's why I'm just going ahead so that we can. So the carbon market as such has 2 major components. One is this is working. Hello. Yeah. So if you look at, there are 2 major schemes. One is called as the mandatory scheme. One is called as the voluntary scheme. Mandatory scheme is very simple. Government tells you emit 100 tons of carbon. Next year you can only emit 95 tons. You reduce 5 tons, whatever you can. In Europe, the way they structured this market, which is called as European Union Emission Trading Scheme, what they said was, out of this 5 tons that you have to reduce, 4 tons you have to reduce from your process. You have to improve your process, use more energy efficient appliances and do, but 1 ton you can subsidize anybody else. You can go out in the market and you can, let's say, ask somebody else to reduce 1 ton and give you a certificate. That is how the entire compliance market started. The Indian government itself, this year right now as we speak, there's a large inventory going up. There is 30 major sectors that Indian government has already declared, including steel, including cement. All of them are going to get targets by the end of this year that they have to reduce. Again, first intention would be for them to reduce by their processes, but there is a section which is coming up which will allow them to purchase these reductions from somewhere else. So this is the compliance market, wherein government mandates every corporate to do this. Then secondly, we are talking about voluntary. And when we say voluntary, these are companies who are not energy efficient,
but who are not energy intensive. So majorly what we see is these companies are, as I said, Microsoft, Google, Amazon. They are not, their processes are not energy efficient, but they are huge conglomerates. So what they do is they have taken a pledge, which everybody in our field, we call it as net zero, which means that every single company, top 1,000 companies of the world, they have signed a pledge which tells that by 2050, their net emissions to environment, not even emissions, net impact to environment has to be zero, which means that they want to, if example I am Microsoft, all I am doing is I am using my energy, I am using my computers. How do I reduce? The only way to reduce their impact is by using energy which is, let's say, renewable. So they will purchase solar energy, they will purchase wind energy. But even after that, what else can they do? Because there is no process emissions. So all of them, they come together and they purchase, not come together individually, they purchase credits. This is out of their own voluntary targets. Voluntary, they have said that by 2050 they want to be net zero, so they purchase every year so that they go down on their targets. So both of these markets are big enough that will, in India is coming up, but outside it's already there. This is a global market. Last year this market alone was 2 billion tons. Kosher Climate alone has sold almost 10 million credits in this market in past 3 years. So in terms of, hello, yeah. So in terms of market, as you were rightly saying it is, one market is approved by government, second market is an individual self-voluntary market. Is it clear? Yeah. There are further, I mean, I'll just take one moment because right now it might not be too relevant. In any voluntary market, then the second question you might ask, and I want to answer it preemptively, is who decide how much credit? There has to be some system, right, to tell. So like everybody right now knows ISO. ISO is a quality benchmark, correct? Similarly, there are two major international standards. One is called as VERA, VCS. Second is called as gold standard. These are international standards like ISO. They have their set methodologies. If you follow that methodology, if you do the calculations, if you demonstrate, they have a similar system. They have a set of auditors. They come, they check your documents, they visit their sites, they verify whether what you're saying is right or not. If it follows that principle, then your project gets approved. Then your project is approved, and in our parlance we say it as the project is registered. Once the project is registered, good part being, if a project is registered, it is eligible to earn credits for 10 years, which means every year a farmer starts doing this. For next 10 years, every year for doing this, he will get payment. He'll get payment. For 10 years, he will just get it. Idea of these 10 years or 7 years is to make it a habit, so that by the end of 10 years, the entire habit has changed from flooding, let's say, to AWD. And if it happens, then it will automatically carry forward. So that is why it is good, is because it's a sustainable source of finance. It is not something that you get only once and then you are left. So yeah, so that is VERA as well as gold standard. Okay. So this is something again very basic from carbon side. As I said, there are only 3 project types: nitrogen, methane, and on the other side soil. Whenever you are reducing something, so in methane you are reducing methane, in nitrogen you are reducing nitrogen dioxide, these are called as avoidance credits, because you are avoiding something which would have happened. Second is carbon removal. So when you are improving the soil organic content of the soil, which then makes it starts removing carbon dioxide from atmosphere, then that is called as a removal credit. Why we are differentiating the two is because price of removal credit is more than avoidance credit, because by removing you are actively reducing it, while in avoidance you are just avoiding it. So the price is different. So that is why in agriculture there would be 2 types of credits. One would be related to methane emissions or nitrogen oxide, and second would be soil organic content, and both will be priced differently at different points of time. This is just a timeline because it is also very important to understand how much time does it take. So as I said, we are right now doing 3 different projects. One is regarding AWD, which I told about. Second project we are initiating in Karnataka. It's a large scale. Hopefully we are trying to reach 3 lakh hectares in next 3 years in millets, in ragi. Wherein in ragi we are trying to reduce the nitrogen application, and for that we are trying to see if we can get credits at all. It is just in pilot stage right now. We are initiating it next month, hopefully in the coming ragi season. We already have some indications from the market because it is one of the most sensitive topics and a very, very difficult area to administer. We are working with a set of 14 NGOs right now in Tumkur belt and Rajnagar belt to try and make this work. Again, a very tough ask, but something, as I said, which has we are getting a lot of support from everyone because as I said, nitrogen is something which is based on urea. We anyways have a huge import subsidy bill. So this is, if this happens, this is going to be a flagship project. Specifically this year, just one second sir, specifically because this year government is putting a lot of focus on millets. So we want to do something in millets which can again be helpful for the farmers. I think you have a question, sir.
Yes. In your first slide, you have given applications of inorganic fertilizers. It gives about 1.8 gigatons of emissions.
Yes, sir.
Have you tried, because right now you said on millets, and most of the farmers, particularly ragi growers, because we have taken up on a larger scale production.
Yes, sir.
They apply very less NPK, particularly nitrogen fertilizers.
Yeah.
Where application is more is in paddy, sugarcane and cotton.
Yes.
Where they apply
Yes.
excessive fertilizers.
Yes, sir.
Recently we had a seminar here in IIT, they organized very well, application of nano.
Yes, sir.
Have you tried any of your experiments with nano fertilizers? Because the more the farmers cry when there is a shortage, and we spend a lot of money even giving subsidies.
Yes.
Government spend a lot of crores of millions of money.
Yes, sir.
Farmers also spend.
Absolutely.
Application of nano has given a good results in recent days.
Yes, sir.
So instead of using so much of nitrogenous fertilizers, if the application of nano becomes more, in India particularly, naturally it reduces the emissions.
Absolutely. That
So
is in fact.
have you tried in any of your experiments the application of nano urea particularly? Definitely it's going to reduce the emission automatically.
Absolutely, that is actually one of the focus areas of the project itself, wherein, so when I said ragi cultivators, what you're saying is right, but there's a unique proposition in ragi. Baseline in ragi was very high. If you look at 6 years back, 7 years back, they used to still do quite a bit. But then over work of lot of people, it has come down. So you're right in saying that ragi nitrogen rates have already come down quite a bit. So what we are trying is, we are trying the dual approach, which is application of nano plus establishing a baseline. So in the carbon, there is a methodology, there is a system called how to get the credits. So basically what you do is you establish a baseline. You say that had your project not happened, in general people would have applied this level of, let's say, nitrogen in general. With your interventions, people have now started applying this, whether through nano, whether through multiple other initiatives. They have started applying this, and because of this delta, you get the credits. Good part of this is it's very subjective, in the sense that any reduction can be, even if you're improving by 1%, it is good. If you improve by 10%, it is good. Your amount will vary for that. But as an eligible project, 1% is also eligible, 10% is also eligible. So as you rightly pointed out, there are various stages that we are taking. We are, as I said, our initial idea is to make sure that farmer gets comfortable with the idea. Once it is, so why we are saying nitrogen is because we know a lot of farmers are already reduced nitrogen application. So what we are trying to establish a baseline that 5 years back, 6 years back, this was the level. Now with work, farmers have already done better. They should get credits for that. Once they start getting credits for this, at the same time we are doing a micro project on nano. We are working with Nurture also for that, to bring that. So all these are incremental steps, but we are focusing on things which are right now. First step is to something which farmer has already sort of accepted, and then build on top of it every time you can do it. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Already, as you was pointing out, the application of fertilizer in Ragi, in
Yes,
dryland.
yes.
You are talking about wetland or dryland? Are you talking about dryland?
Yeah.
It is, at least in wetland they apply some fertilizers.
Yes.
But in dryland it is very less.
Very less,
But
yes.
You have to now first know whether there is how much emission. Is it a permissible emission or more?
That's what I said, sir. In this, there is no absolute number. I can design, or we can design at any numbers. For example, if I can demonstrate that 5 years back application rate was this much, and so what we did was our first lab in the same region, Tumkur region, was in 2014 it was operating. So we have real-time data from 5 different labs in Karnataka as to what was emission levels at that time. What we are trying to establish is emissions level at that time versus emissions level today. There is already a significant gap. Can we get farmers credits for that? Can we get something which we are already now, let's say, attuned to do? So that is the first step. Similarly, any project, again, good thing to understand is any project need not be only one intervention. As I said, it can be a combination of multiple interventions. So in the same project, every year I can do something. So once I know farmer is now comfortable with this, now let me start with nano. Now let me start with something else. That is all a pipeline that we built. It's just about we start with very small incremental steps at this stage. But as you said, it is an approved project type if you can demonstrate that there is a reduction.
Now, sorry
Yes,
to
sir.
interrupt you again.
Yes, sir.
Please don't compare dryland and irrigated conditions. They are entirely different.
Absolutely.
When you talk about dryland, you know the methane emission is mainly because of the anaerobic conditions.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so please minimize your effort on dryland crops, intensify the irrigated crops or the rice.
Absolutely.
Aerobic crops, they will not give you good results. Take it from you.
Thank you so much, sir. And that is what I said. These are 2 different types. We have wetlands for rice, and for drylands we are looking at ragi and some other. See, ultimate idea, sir, let me complete.
Please don't get under the impression that growing ragi is leading to your
It is not.
emission other things.
It is not. It is nitrogen dioxide. It is nitrogen dioxide emissions. And sir, idea again. Let me.
Did you estimate the methane emission in the dryland ragi crop?
No, it is not. So nitrogen dioxide. Maybe you are not getting the point.
It will not take you anywhere.
Okay.
Starting point should be
Sir, maybe let me make it clear so that you once and for all understand it, so that we don't have increment. Let me just hear me out for one moment. All projects are independent, which doesn't mean that if I am doing methane, I cannot do nitrogen dioxide. For methane, you are rightly, we are focused on rice and similar. In ragi, again, please understand, it is not to make farmer guilty that he is making summations. What we are trying is the opposite. In ragi, farmers have improved already. What we are trying to demonstrate is, for that improvement, can I give them some cash? Why not? I should be able to. If because I can able to do it, I can get them to do multiple other things as well, like zero till, like other stuff. So these are absolutely independent projects with absolutely no connection. For wetlands, there are different methodology. For drylands, there are different methodology. As a company, again, we are a private company, private capital. We are employing our own capital to try and make this work. We are taking the risk. We are not asking anybody to be at that point. We are not asking farmer to do anything. We are taking all the risk. We want to see what can work, what cannot. Maybe we'll fail. For all I know, maybe we'll fail. But we will try with ragi as well. We will try with methane and rice as well. We are trying with agroforestry. We are right now doing a 10,000 hectare large project for agroforestry in Andhra. So we are trying multiple. some of them will succeed, some of them will fail. But our job is to make sure that we are at a stage wherein we can help every farmer who is doing anything, whether he is a dryland farmer or he is a wetland farmer, right? So just to make that clear, it is not exclusive. Every farmer, we are trying to maximize the opportunity for every farmer. That is the whole idea. I think that is more or less what we wanted to cover. Some of this is related to agroforestry, but I think Ravi sir, are you covering agroforestry in yours? Because I don't want to. Oh, okay. So just the last bit on agroforestry. Sir has a question. You have a question, sir?
Complete your presentation. You ask more questions.
Yeah, thank you, Mr.
He already has a mic, so maybe I'll take it.
See,
Yeah.
I have a slightly different crop. Coffee
Yeah.
has got a lot of potential.
Absolutely.
And already certain big organizations like CCD and others have initiated some process. Especially in Arabica, the scope is huge.
Yeah.
So big planters are getting benefit.
Yeah.
But have you tried in smaller plantations?
Yeah.
And what is the scope in the future? Because if this is delayed, the Arabica crop acreage is already coming down.
Yeah.
So we have to save that.
Right, sir.
Because as it is with the different shades, it is already sequestering sufficient carbon.
Sure.
So if encouraged, we will be doing a great bit of justice.
Great, sir. Thank you so much, because that is the topic. If you're looking at in agroforestry, we are looking at coffee as one of the, we are working with Coffee Board to identify what opportunities can be there in the entire coffee ecosystem. I'll ask my colleague Vidya to take just a couple of slides on agroforestry, and then we'll cover that as well.
Thanks, Nilesh. So, to start with agroforestry, I hope this is not as controversial as the agriculture one. So, agroforestry is nothing but integrating trees into the agriculture system. So, in agroforestry, one can actually do alley cultivation, which is nothing but in between the rows of trees, you actually plant crops, and also riparian or buffer kind of agroforestry, wherein actually the trees are planted in the river banks to stop the erosion and also to stop the nutrient pollution. And next is to give you some numbers. Basically, India, the area under agroforestry in India is estimated to be 23.3 million hectare as of today. And carbon sequestration actually under agroforestry, it is like we are talking about different species of trees which can be grown, and other crops can be cultivated at the same time. So the sequestration potential will actually vary from tree to tree or species to species, as well as the density of the trees in a particular hectare. So to give you a broad range, it could be from about 0.25 tons of carbon dioxide equivalent to 19 tons per hectare per year. So to talk about, this is a classic example of agroforestry, coffee. So, so basically sir was asking about the Arabica, how to actually use, carbon credits to supplement the Arabica cultivation. So as Nilesh already said, when we talk about getting carbon credits for any kind of projects, be it agriculture or be it energy related or anything, there is something called as baseline that we establish, and we actually measure what is happening at the baseline or the emissions that is related to the baseline condition, and then we see what different we can do in the project scenario, and that measurement, that delta will actually give you the carbon dioxide sequestration or reduction number. So in coffee, basically like in Kodagu or Chikmagalur or Sakleshpur, basically the coffee here is, in India at least, it is grown under shade conditions, right? So when the coffee projects to be undertaken under any of the carbon mechanisms, the baseline should be sun-grown coffee. So if it is sun-grown, then how are you going to change that practice to include shade trees in a coffee agroforestry system? So that will give you the emission sequestration number. So if it is predominantly a shade-grown coffee, then establishing this baseline, it is really difficult. So, but for example, take a situation where there is a fallow land or a degraded land, wherein you are going to introduce coffee, and along with that you are going to introduce agroforestry system. You are going to have say 3 level of canopy cover, which are like fast growing species like Glericidea, which can give you a first layer, and the second your timber trees, etc. So in that situation, it is easy to come up with a baseline condition wherein we can say, like, you know, this was a degraded land, and here we are introducing coffee. At the same time, we are going to use agroforestry model to introduce tree species, and it would actually help in sequestration of carbon as well as improve the soil condition. So that is an ideal situation to take coffee under carbon creating mechanisms. So the carbon sequestration potential in coffee, again, it also depends if it is an already the land is under coffee, then you won't get any credits for the coffee plant. You will get only credits for the tree species that you will introduce into your farm. So depending on the species of trees that you introduce, as well as the density of the trees or the number of trees that you will be introducing into per hectare, you will get somewhere about 5 credits. It can also go up to 15 credits, 5 to 15. And when we talk about agriculture practices, you can actually get credits like every year, annual basis, because paddy, it has like every year you grow paddy, and you know there are multiple cycles of it. Whereas when it comes to agroforestry, basically you can't get any credit, say, for 0 to 3 years or 0 to 5 years, because the plant has to mature, it has to start sequestering carbon. So down the line, say about from 3rd, 4th, 5th year onwards, the plant will actually start sequestering carbon at a higher level, and then that is when you do the monitoring and then quantify the carbon sequestration based on the volumetric increase of the tree, the DBH, the diameter, the breadth and the height of the tree. That is how you actually calculate your carbon dioxide that has been sequestered by the plant, and then you can actually claim carbon credits. So the eligibility conditions, again, as I said, apart from establishing the baseline, this other eligibility conditions is like the project must be listed in any of the carbon mechanisms that we showed in the previous slides within 3 years of your project activity start date. That is, when we say project activity start, that is 3 years within when you have started the actual, what do you say? Like started planting the saplings, or actually, so that would be your start date of your project. So within 3 years you have to submit your project to the eligible standard, and then the process can start. So the crediting period for an agroforestry kind of a project would be like 20 years, which can be renewed 4 times. So the total benefit that you can gain from an agroforestry setup is about credits for about, say, 100 years. So these are basically the plantation models that you can follow in a coffee agroforestry system. Intercropping and perimeter combination, wherein like you have coffee plants growing along with the tree species. Else it could be perimeter, wherein usually in the perimeter combination silver oaks are grown, or be it areca nuts are grown, etc. And mixed stands is like degraded or unused lands which are like not suitable for coffee. Therein you can actually start planting tree species, and that could be a forestry or afforestation kind of a project. This is actually this is a project design or a planting design which is actually followed by a project called Community Tree, which is under Plan Vivo mechanism. So this is their planting design that they are following, and they have been practicing this design since past 10 years. And the coffee planters in Nicaragua, they are actually gaining a lot of carbon credits as well as incentives based on that. So here coffee is grown along with fruit trees and shade trees. So the coffee tree, they are growing about 3,654 per hectare, but again this will depend upon the species of coffee that we grow. It will vary, like if it is Robusta it could be different, if it is Arabica again the numbers could increase or decrease. So the fruit trees are actually grown like about 25 meters apart, and then between 2 coffee plants they are coffee plants are actually at a distance of about 0.65 meters, and then again the shade trees are about 8.5 meters apart. So this is a design that the taking root. It's a company who's actually doing this project under Plan Vivo. They have designed, and the farmers are reaping very good benefits from this. So the next, okay, this is in general for all the agroforestry kind of interventions. It could be coffee, it could be areca nut, it could be rubber plantations, etc., or cocoa for that matter. So as I said, like from 0 to 3 years at least, there would be no carbon sequestration, or there would be no credits that a farmer or anyone could benefit from. So the value opportunities are in the form of carbon payments, which in agroforestry setup they could start getting from say 3rd or 4th year onwards. And then it would go like, actually the carbon mechanism also allows farmers to harvest it. Like if you have timber, say after 7 years, 10 years, when you want to actually harvest it, you can go ahead and do that. There's no penalty for that. So over the period of time, like about say 5th or 6th or 7th year, depending on the type of timber that you grow, and when you want to harvest that, the farmer can actually benefit from that as well. And again, if there is like wood waste, say if they are growing bamboo or any other wood and there is wood waste, then it can be converted into biochar, and the biochar can be used as a soil amendment or also as a non-soil amendment. And next, they don't have to go and buy plants or saplings from any of the nurseries. They can actually start their own nursery by collecting the seed. And then again, the timber crops like teak or rosewood, it would mature about say after 30-40 years, then they can benefit from that as well.
So before we go into the numbers for that, I just want to make sure again that we understand the model for agroforestry, which is different from agriculture. And by the way, just for everybody noting, we are already we are combining both the presentations. So between me and Vidya, we are covering both the topics. So like in agriculture, the model that we talked about was farmer does something or is doing something, and for that he or she will be able to get credits and thus some payments. In agroforestry, this entire model can be divided into two parts. One, if a farmer is doing agroforestry on its own, he's saying that agroforestry makes sense for him, for his life, for his livelihood, for diversification of crop, for more returns, well and good. If the farmer is doing out of his own resources, he or she is eligible to get credits and can get extra revenue out of carbon. But in agroforestry, there is another model which is being done by companies like us or some of our clients, wherein they are willing to provide farmer the finance to do an agroforestry project. So if, for example, there are farmers who want to convert their normal land, agricultural land, into an agroforestry project, they are willing to provide saplings, provide maintenance of saplings effort, provide funding for first 3 years to take care of those plants so that you convert. Model shifts in that scenario wherein then the financier or the investor, they get bulk of carbon credits. What they do is they are doing upfront financing. They are helping you as a farmer to shift your livelihood away from a normal agri to a agroforestry model, and you reap all the benefits. As a farmer, the fruits are yours, the trees are yours, the timber is yours, everything is yours. But credits that can be generated from that land will then be taken over by investor. So it's a model which is applicable wherein we feel that farmers are interested, they want to do, but they don't have the resources to make it work. So in agroforestry, both of these models are prevalent. As I said, we are currently working on a model wherein an investor is coming, they are investing close to 100 crores in making sure that 10,000 farmers are shifting their cultivation from a normal maize wheat crop to agroforestry model where it's just combined of trees like mango, jamun, guava, and various others. So we have identified 4 different agroforestry models which are more of, all of them are intercropping, and again in a single piece of land there is no single species. Every piece of land has at least 4 different species. That also contributes to a diversified income. So for example, if your mango is not resulting, guava will give. If guava is not giving, jamun will give. So if none of this is working, there is some timber tree as well. You can sell the timber. So a farmer's livelihood is definitely improved or is definitely enhanced, but investor will have majority portion of credits. So I just want to make sure that we understand this, because that is also a model that we are trying to pilot now in India. In fact, the limitation is low. You can't do projects in 2 hectares, 5 hectares. You have to do 5,000 hectares, 10,000 hectares. So what we do is we aggregate farmers. We bring these farmers together through some NGOs, through some FPOs. We bring them together, and then we combine them to make a project. Yeah.
Already there are, for ages the farmers have been growing.
Yes, sir.
For shared purpose.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Large number of estates are there.
Yes, sir.
Can you do that? What is the emission there?
But so I think that's what Vidya mentioned. Anything which has already been done, if the intercropping is already done, they are not eligible. In agroforestry, everything is eligible from today, like as in from the start date of the project. Whatever new plantations you do, for example, if you're doing intercropping earlier, but you had only, let's say, 100 trees. Now if you're introducing 100 more trees, then you will only get carbon for that extra 100 trees. Anything that you have done is a baseline. It doesn't count from a carbon. Sir, simple reason being, because when you did that plantation, you were not thinking of carbon credits. The basic purpose, simple philosophy of carbon credit is you are doing something to get carbon credits. If you had done something while you didn't even thought about carbon credits, that is not eligible as such. So that is the reason. Of course it is, sir. Of course it is. Absolutely. So that is why the system, see, we have to play within the system. The system allows us to go at max back by 2 years. So anything that you have done, that anybody has done in the past 2 years, I can still try and combine them into the project. But if it is further before that, then the system doesn't allow it. I mean, system has to have a start date, so that doesn't allow.
So if they modify the farm,
Yeah.
if they are eligible.
If their current baseline is they are not doing any agroforestry, and if they are not, so you are saying they already have an agroforestry, now they are shifting that from an unknown. So different trees, different species, different thing. No, sir, that doesn't count.
Why not?
For I'll tell you, baseline. That's why I said the system. Again, we have to work with the system. System says.
You are not encouraging the existing rate of pollution.
Right. Again, let me clear what my role, what as a company our role is. We cannot make the system. There's a system, we can try and work around it, right? So I'll tell you the very simple reason. Why it is not doable. It's a simple called baseline. If currently you are doing something which is sequestering carbon by this much, if you are changing, let's say, so let me answer it. If you are changing your agroeconomic practices, or if you are changing your model in a form that instead of this, now you are sequestering this much, then you are eligible. There is no reason. So for example, let's say we compare 2 different agroforestry model. One agroforestry model which has less guava, more mango, and second which is more mango and less mango and more guava. If this one is sequestering less, you are doing this. Now if you are doing this which is more, then you are eligible. Then you can get it. All baseline says is you have to do better than what you are doing currently.
Better baseline, for example, I tell you, one farm is here.
Yeah.
Another farm is there.
Yes.
This farm is adding carbon.
Yes, sir.
Old farm.
Yeah.
That person who does it.
Yeah.
He is eligible for the.
Yes, sir.
Where this person
Is not.
Naturally discouraging.
Absolutely. You are absolutely right.
The baseline is not justified.
But as I said, it is something which is a system. It is something which what you are saying is absolutely right. It makes sense.
Holistic approach.
Yeah. Sir, I cannot take, please understand. I cannot take. No, system cannot take. Please understand.
I am not referring you in the sense individually. Whatever the decision makers.
Yes, sir.
They should take. For example, that means you are not encouraging the existing person.
Sir, you're absolutely right. I'm more than, as I said, system allows for somebody who has done it in recent past, they'll allow it.
only benefiting for some people, discriminatory.
Absolutely. So there are flaws with system, right?
Clearly indicates
Yes.
system itself is a flaw.
It is there.
Just take American government who monopolized the dollar.
Yes.
Everybody is suffering. It is same thing with that,
Absolutely, sir. I take with I am taking as feedback, but there's not much I can do about it. I'll be very honest. I cannot do much.
You are also part of this.
Yeah.
You are also part of this.
Sir,
Just a minute, when he is comparing two systems, sir said
yeah.
but at the present, the farmer who is already practicing all the practices which he has been sequestering the carbon, and only thing is he has not registered and is not earning the credits.
Yes.
But he has been contributing for the
Yes, he is.
nature and conserving. So, but sir, if that farmer also get enrolled here, and if he start practicing newer practices other than what he was practicing earlier,
He is eligible.
he also
Yes.
earns the credit,
Yes.
and he also becomes eligible.
Yes.
You got my point.
I give a live outcome. I am
Yeah.
on the banker side.
Yes, sir.
See, for example, 50% are there
Yes,
who
sir.
got the new loans.
Yes.
Another 50% are here who also already got the loans,
Yeah.
but for some reason,
Yeah.
say for example COVID, pandemic, whatever it is,
Yeah.
their business has gone down.
Yes, sir.
So if I approach your baseline,
Yeah.
I should neglect all of them,
Yes.
let them die.
Yes.
I should encourage only this.
Yes.
Society will not develop. I have to consider them.
Yeah.
See, RBI guideline also says you have to treat them equally
Yeah.
and bring them.
Yes.
In fact, you have to
Yes.
treat more equally
Yes.
than the new persons.
Yes.
So the society will develop.
Absolutely.
Clearly, no, listen. Your approach should be unilateral for everyone.
Sir, as much as I would want to, and I totally agree that I'm not covering. There is a separate methodology which is called Red Plus on that. I can't go right now into that because that's far more controversial. But yeah, I think just one last bit so that everybody knows about the numbers. Yeah. So. Yeah. Sure. Just the last slide so that we all at least knows about the economics. In any sort of agroforestry projects which are happening, potentially wise, emission reductions that we said about 2 tons, in agroforestry minimum is 5. It can go up to 12, up to 15 as well. In which case the price is also better because this is removal credit, price is about 10. So we are talking about, if we are talking about 1 hectare, you are talking about a minimum of $50 up to a maximum of $130, which means you are talking about minimum of 4,000 rupees to up to a 15 to 20,000 rupees per hectare that can be generated in an agroforestry, well designed agroforestry project. So with that I'd like to close. Again with last word, every system, we have been talking about American government in dollars and everything happened in 200 years. This is the start of the market. Let us not be critical of something which has just started, which is starting to do something good, because ultimately in India what we do is we overthink and we act less. Let us act, improve. There's nobody saying, I'm not saying system is perfect, everything is perfect, but we want to make it perfect, right? Unless and until we start doing it, all we are saying is until there is a perfect system, things will not move. I don't believe to that. What I believe is this is a market for next 100 years starting today. 2020 is the birth of the market. Mark my words, 2100, if this market is here, you will find all these systems in place. But we'll have to start today, and that's our role. We are taking the risk. We want everybody else's to support it, give us feedback, help us improve it, but let us do, let us move. Let us not only focus on making it perfect till the time not move, because by that time farmers would have already gone. So yeah, absolutely. I'm saying, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Right. Thank you so much for everyone. Thank you.
very good. Hello. Yeah, no, I'm waiting for this. Hello. Thank you very much, Nilesh and Vidya, for their presentation. I request Mr. Ravi Dwivedi to be here. Mic on.
This one, right? Hello. Power is not. Okay. All right. Ellargu namaskara. I think I am standing in the way of your lunch, so I'll keep it very short and simple. But before I start, let me give a little background to who I am and what I work on. So you can put off the light maybe. So unlike the previous speaker, I am not a subject matter expert, but my background is I was part of a program called Indian Administrative Fellowship. As part of the fellowship, I was working as an OSD to our secretary, so I worked with Mr. Kalsad. Just now in December I graduated, I worked with Mr. Khatri and also Mr. Uma Shankar, who was the secretary, and also the Commissioner Agriculture, Mr. Dikshit, and Mr. Sharad. So my work was to get this innovation in the farmer's field and get the execution done. And of course in this regard, Mr. A.B. Patil has interacted from the Minister Office as well. We have worked on Karnataka Agri Policy. So first the good news, we are already ahead on this idea. We already have a pilot on ground, which I am very proud to say that we took. I just want to launch with that. We already have a pilot with 6,500 farmers with Subiksha Organics in Shimoga. Lot of you will know Anand Shri. You can call him and check how he likes the pilot. But it's been almost 10 months that he got onboarded on the carbon credit program. So I just begin with that. You can change the, okay. Okay, the clicker is here, all right. So the idea is very simple. I will try to speak more, business language. So I've been also from my background an investor, also an entrepreneur who built a business and sold his business to move to the development sector. My work in the government is to bring about reform in the government, and that includes higher transparency, more innovation. So that is my agenda. I also work with other bodies, like right now I'm consulting on water stress with NUDGE, also the ministry on digital agriculture. So my lens has been AI. So the idea is very simple, which I think everybody has spoken about, so I will not speak much, which is if the farmer can increase the organic carbon. So my lens of looking at it was not CO2, my lens was we have a problem in the soil. We know that. What can we do to increase the soil carbon? If we can increase the soil carbon while we give some money to the farmer, which for example even Sadhguru etc. have said we should launch some soil credits, carbon credits, so that they are given some money to increase the carbon. That is the whole idea. If we know if the carbon goes up in soil, it is good for the earth. And if we can do that while giving him money, this is an idea I came across around 2 years back and we took it forward. How does it work? This is again the carbon sequestration, lot of technical folks, I'll skip the details, but the idea is, like the previous speaker spoke, that soil itself acts as a big sink for carbon dioxide and you increase the carbon. So I'll just keep at that. So what do you do? Again, everybody has spoken about tillage, cover cropping, mulching. Some of you know that some of it is very hard. When you talk about tillage, people say it cannot happen, how will it happen? Some of it is possible, right? The other lens we took to take this was to say, can we use it to increase natural farming? So the one that pilot we have taken is with Subiksha Organic. So we think it is a good fit for all natural farming projects. These farmers suffer, they need more cash, and if we can support them as they make the transition, it could be a slight benefit. How is this also beneficial? This is not government money. You have to understand that. Government is paying crores of rupees every year. This is a private sector money coming into the sector, which is also very good. That is the other reason we want to take it up. So these are the practices. Again, the previous speaker spoke about additionality, that have you done this practice before? If not, can you take it up? If you take it up, we'll consider your project, right? And then you are enrolled. So this is kind of the whole idea. Again, not going much in detail. Why is this happening now is the question. This has been there from 2007 and 2008. A lot of you who know about this will know, and a lot of cynics say, oh, in 2007 and 8 also it came. What is the big deal? It didn't work then. Why do you think it will work? The second big question everybody asks is, where is the money? How much money? where is the money, show me the money, right? So I will just answer that. First reason why it has happened now is today we have hardware technology which without sampling the soil at the ground level through remote sensing can estimate the carbon. So this is what is happening. Today due to GIS and remote sensing, that is the reason I picked this up, because I look at AI as a practice in agriculture. The advancement has allowed us to predict the carbon in the soil not only today but up to 3 or 5 years before. So what happens is when you onboard a project, you can give the farmer the credit for last 3 years. That is the point. And you are using remote sensing, so no sampling is needed. That is the reason why a lot of these companies are able to onboard so many farmers very quickly. Of course, when we do verification, we'll talk about, there is some sampling needed which the Vera-like agency does. But this is the point, that's why it became possible. This is the timeline, again, one timeline was shared by Nilesh as well. This is what we believe. First, the companies collect the farmer information. Again, here we have had discussion even with our farmer database that we have. Can we open it up through the government intervention? Should it be two private parties? So right now the model we have taken is, we as a government, and this I'm speaking on behalf of the thought that we have had in agriculture department, at least till I was there, or even in agroforestry where Mr. Dikshit is now, like as a government, we will bring in these vendors who do all these projects, we'll impanel them, and then let FPOs and let farmer cooperatives directly figure out who they want to pilot and take it up with. No government intermediation is required except protecting the rights. The flow of cash should work between private party and FPO. And you and I know that that is the best for the farmer. If you really want the farmer to get the money, let the private company only pay directly. So this is the model we are trying to pilot. So this is how we did even the pilot that we did with Bhumitra, the company. So they collected the farmer information, we connected them to Subiksha. Anand Shri was very interested. After the MOU was signed, he only ran. We did not interfere. He only did all of it, shared the data. Then they developed the AI reports to say how much carbon credit. This is the monitoring question people were asking. The report is submitted. At that time you can see in your aggregate FPO what is the overall carbon credit they have estimated that you will get. That is based on the remote sensing data. And then when the final verification happens, they come to know what is the actual number. This is where right now the project is in. If you ask me, because people will say, have they got the money? And then the money comes. The other thing I will say is, this is the estimate that we made for organic farmer. We said if we can get up to 3 tons of carbon credit, and up to, again, these are probably older prices that we used when the credit was slightly higher. Up to we have put around 5,000 to 6,000 rupees that is possible. Maybe it's on the higher end, but what we feel is if we can get up to 1 lakh farmers, this is the goal I started with. In fact, I'm very happy to say that if you look at the SDG challenge which the planning department has launched just very recently, increasing carbon credit for farmers is one of the items. And they have themselves asked that we want more farmers to take and let that cash come to farmer, however small it is. It's an extra cash, that's the way we are looking at. And is he actually hurting from it? No, he is doing similar practices, maybe some better practices, soil is improving. That's the approach we are taking. I'm not taking a purist approach like some of you have. And I agree to a lot of the things that you're saying, but this is an incremental approach. But if I can get 60 crores dispersed to 1 lakh farmers, that is what I'm looking to do. And this is what the state also, at least I know a lot of the bureaucracy, a lot of folks are very keen for this money to come to the farmers, right? Because it's a private sector money and it's also helping the, the environment. These are the players. I know, of course, Nilesh is one of them, but I just put all of them here, like Bhumitra is there, IORA is there, VNV is there. So I put all of them. Anybody can feel free to talk to them who has interest. We also, as we impanel, are speaking to a lot of them and trying to see what can be done, right? I will leave with some final, okay, let me talk about the pilot a little more. Before we took the pilot, we also introduced to an NGO in Anantpur where we have a groundnut belt. They did around 20,000 farmers. They onboarded that first. After that, we took, like I said, 6,500 farmers and around 32,000 acres is onboarded right now. We are expecting 500 to 700 rupees per acre per year for that. The key point which I think the last speaker spoke about, and I won't go much deeper, is the additionality. We have to prove that you did it additional, which means you did something extra to be eligible for it. If you're doing the same thing, you're not. So that can be done. You have to improve, and always there is always chance for new practices to be introduced, and when you onboard you can do. The other thing is you can get credits for last 3 years. Let's say if you're getting last 3 years credit at 500 rupees, for 4 years if you're getting it 2,000 rupees. One tranche of PM Kisan is 2,000 rupees. Now think about that. That's a big amount of money for a farmer, right? So absolutely, if the farmer is not getting disturbed, he or she should absolutely take. The second question is, what does he sign? He signs a 10-year agreement. In which level it happens? It happens at a FPO level. Most of the private companies do not want to deal with individual farmers. They deal with a FPO or an aggregator. What is the revenue model? Usually 20% or 25% is kept with the FPO, remainder 10 to 20% with the agri-tech company, and the remainder to the farmer. So you can have a 60, 20, 20, or we are forcing 17, 15, 15 if government can give a better rate to the farmer. These are the very plain economics. Again, I'm sure there are some differences which private players may have, but this is what the rough economics is. We want farmers to get the bulk, FPO to get another 15, 20% of this, because it's a cash well spent. This is a 10-year contract when it comes to farming. When we talk about farming, this is called below the soil credits, right? Then I'll talk about agroforestry, which he spoke about. This is where, we have got our forest department also very keen. The beauty in agroforestry is you take an integrated farming, plant some trees in it, right? All of a sudden your sequestration is coming to 5 to 7,500 rupees per acre. That's huge. Now the difference in agroforestry is these are 40-year projects. First 3 years you will not get any cash. So the model that has been planned or we are discussing is the government will handhold. Anyway, the saplings are provided. First 3 years, the government will handhold for the tree plantation. Anyway, there are so many projects that you all know are already running. After that, from 4th year, let the carbon credit act as the nudge for the tree to be there. So in some sense, the reforestation, all of those things will also be met by this extra cash. Again, these are some ideas I am saying which can converge. Of course, a lot of things can go wrong, but this is the thought that we are talking about. What is the beauty? There is no extra cost involved. Farmer is paying any money? No. Government is paying any money? No. That's the beauty, right? If he likes it, he takes it. If he doesn't like it, there is no force, right? So that's what it is. And most of the farmers are willing to take. The other beauty I will say is today I am here to talk about it. The moment the farmer gets cash, I don't have to do selling. All the farmers will be chasing companies who are doing all of it. I don't have to do any selling. It's the money that matters. We know it, right? So let's only get the initial lot through the system so the money comes in, and then it will automatically do the word of mouth. That's all I was going to say. Other than that, I guess the risk I have to tell you is these risks in these projects they are new, they can fail. Because I asked this question, how many people have got cash in India on farming? According to me, 0. But VNV says, no, there are 1 or 2 people who have got. Till I see the money, I don't believe. In renewal and other spaces, money has come. It's a new one. Till the money comes, what is the risk? The third party has to validate this credit, number 1. Number 2, there has to be a buyer, and the buyer today is not in India. This is an international buyer who has to trust this credit. If you Google and find, there are already some controversies. People are saying, oh, these are fudged up credits, whatnot, right? Because the moment there is money, all that happens, right? So somebody has to trust this was done really to save CO2, really to increase soil carbon. So those are the roadblocks, but I do believe the time for it has come, because we have a huge problem in soil, we have a huge problem in environment, huge problem in water also. So when I look at water lens also, we were looking at SRI from a water perspective also. So I think there are multiple things which are triangulating, which lead me to say that at some level this will move on, some form of this will happen. And I think Nilesh laid out a lot of those points very clearly when it comes to compulsory markets, where the government is going to mandate people to force them to buy these credits, because if you're going to pollute more, you will need this credit. So that will create a big market for these, right? So I think this is, I guess, the summary. My takeaway for all of you is be aware of it, educate the farmers, FPOs, ask them to inquire, try out from the government side also. I know we have folks from the department otherwise as well. We are trying to create this impaneled vendors, as the talks have been, and then I think the farmers can do bi-party agreements and figure it out if it's working for them. I'll just pause there and take questions. Any questions, please? Yeah. Oh, okay. sorry sir if I was too this thing, but my work here is to move the things through the system and get more farmers. That's all I would say. Thank you so much.
Present it without making it a controversy. Yeah. Anyway, now I request our secretary to felicitate all the speakers, including our inaugurators. So please you take the mic and call them and please felicitate.
ಆಡಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಮುಖ ನೋಡಿದರೆ ಹಸಿವಾಗಿದ್ದು ಒಂದು ಇದೆ ಅಂದ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ, ಬಟ್ ಸಮಯ ಇಲ್ಲ ಸ್ಯಾಟಿಸ್ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಫಾರ್ ದಿ ವರ್ಕ್ಶಾಪ್ ಅನ್ನೋ ಭಾವನೆಗಳು ಕಾಣ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾವೆ ಅನಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಆರ್ ಯು ಸ್ಯಾಟಿಸ್ಫೈಡ್ ವಿತ್ ದಿ ವರ್ಕ್ಶಾಪ್? ರಿಯಲಿ? ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ವೆರಿ ಮಚ್. ಬಹುಶಃ ಈ ಒಂದು ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ಇನ್ನು ಬಹಳ ಎತ್ತರಕ್ಕೆ ಬೆಳಬೇಕನ್ನೋ ಆಶೆಯಿಂದ ನಮ್ಮ MC ಕಮಿಟಿಯವರು ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಸಮಯ ತಗೊಂಡು ಒಂದು ಟಾಪಿಕ್ ಚೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಇವತ್ತು ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಸ್ಪೀಕರ್ಸ್ ತಂದಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಅಂದರೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಬಹುಶಃ ಸ್ಪೀಕರ್ಸ್ಗಿಂತ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ನಮ್ಮ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ AV ಪಾಟೀಲ್ರಿಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಒಂದು ಜೋರಾದ ಚಪ್ಪಾಳೆ ಮೂಲಕ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನು ಹೇಳಬೇಕು. ಈಗ ಮೇ ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಅವರ್ ಸ್ಪೀಕರ್ಸ್ ಶ್ರೀ ನೀಲೇಶ್ ಹಸ್ದೇವ್, ಮಿಸ್ ವಿದ್ಯಾ ಕುಂಜಪ್ಪ ಅಂಡ್ ರವಿ ತ್ರಿವೇದಿ ಸರ್. ಎಸ್ ಓಕೆ. May I request Nilesh Hasdev to come on dais and get our felicitation. ಈಗ ಬಹುಶಃ ಈ ಎಲ್ಲ ಯೋಜನೆಗಳು ಅನುಷ್ಠಾನ ಆಗಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಕೃಷಿ ಇಲಾಖೆಗಳು, ಅರಣ್ಯ ಇಲಾಖೆಗಳು ಬೇಕು. ನಾಳೆ ರೈತರು ಕ್ರೆಡಿಟ್ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ಈ ಕೃಷಿ ಇಲಾಖೆ, ಅರಣ್ಯ ಇಲಾಖೆ ಬಿಡಲ್ಲ. ನಾವು ಈ ಏನೇನೋ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ಮುಂದೆ ಈ ಆರ್ಗ್ಯಾನಿಕ್ ಕ್ರೆಡಿಟ್ಸ್ ಏನಾದ್ರು ಕೊಡ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂದರೆ ದಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಹ್ಯಾಪನ್ಡ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಥ್ರೂ ಡಿಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಅಪರ ನಿರ್ದೇಶಕರು ಬಂದು ಅವರಿಗೆ ಸನ್ಮಾನ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಬಾಲರೆಡ್ಡಿ ಸರ್ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಬಂದು ನೀಲೇಶ್ ಹಸ್ದೇವ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ಕಮ್ ಬೋತ್ ಆಫ್ ಯು ಸರ್. ನಮ್ಮ IFT ಇಂದ ಬಂದಿದ್ರು ಒಂದಿಬ್ಬರು, ಅವರು ಕೂಡ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ವೇದಿಕೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಬರಬೇಕು. ಬನ್ನಿ ಸರ್ ವಿರೋಧ್ರೆ ಸರ್. ಈ ಕೃಷಿ ಇಲಾಖೆ ಅಪರ ನಿರ್ದೇಶಕರಾದ ಬಾಲರೆಡ್ಡಿ ಸರ್ ಹಾಗೂ ಸದಾಶಿವ್ ಸರ್ ಅವರು ನೀಲೇಶ್ ಹಸ್ದೇವ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಶಾಲು, ಹಾರ ಹಾಗೂ ಮಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟು, ನಮ್ಮ ಉಪಾಧ್ಯಕ್ಷರು ಕೂಡ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಅವನ ಸನ್ಮಾನದಲ್ಲಿ ಭಾಗವಹಿಸಬೇಕು. ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ AV ಪಾಟೀಲ್ ಸರ್ ಮುಂದಕ್ಕೆ ಬರ್ಬೇಕು, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಫೋಟೋದಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ಬೇಕು ತಾವು. ಜೋರಾದ ಚಪ್ಪಾಳೆ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ವೆರಿ ಮಚ್ ನೀಲೇಶ್ ಹಸ್ದೇವ್. ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಗಿವನ್ ವಂಡರ್ಫುಲ್ ಸ್ಪೀಚ್. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು. ವಿ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅ ಲಾಟ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಯು. Next, Miss Vidya Kunjappa to come on the dais and get our felicitation. Thank you. Miss Vidya Kunjappa. Only lady in the workshop. Let us give her a big round of applause. Bani sir, Balreddy sir. OSD sir should participate in every event, every moment. VS Patil, ನಮ್ಮ MC members ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ವೇದಿಕೆಗೆ ಬರ್ರಿ. ಉಮೇಶ್ ಬನ್ನಿ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಬನ್ನಿ ಸರ್. ವೀರಭದ್ರ ಸರ್, ಮಂಜುನಾಥ್ ಬನ್ನಿ ಸರ್ ಪ್ಲೀಸ್. Thank you very much. Thank you, Vidya madam. Next, Ravi Trivedi sir, ಸಂಪನ್ಮೂಲ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ, ಕ್ಲೈಮೇಟ್ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಪ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟಿನ ರವಿ ತ್ರಿವೇದಿ ಅವರು ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಬಂದು ನಮ್ಮ ಸನ್ಮಾನವನ್ನು ಸ್ವೀಕರಿಸಬೇಕು. ಬಾಲರೆಡ್ಡಿ ಸರ್, ಸದಾಶಿವ್ ಸರ್ ಹಾಗೂ ನಮ್ಮ MC ಮೆಂಬರ್ಸು, ಉಪಾಧ್ಯಕ್ಷರು ಎಲ್ಲ ಒಡಗೂಡಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಸನ್ಮಾನ ಮಾಡಲು ಕೋರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ. ರಾಜೇಂದ್ರ ಹೆಗಡೆ ಸರ್ ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಾಗಾರವನ್ನು ಉದ್ಘಾಟನೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಜ್ಯೋತಿ ಬೆಳಗಿಸುವ ಮೂಲಕ. ಅವರು ಕೂಡ ಈ ಒಂದು ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ಸನ್ಮಾನವನ್ನು ಸ್ವೀಕರಿಸಬೇಕಂತ ಕೋರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ.
ವಿಶೇಷವಾಗಿ ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಸಂಖ್ಯೆ ಇದ್ದಿದ್ರು ಕೂಡ ಆ ರಿಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಡಿಸ್ಕಷನ್ ಏನಾಯಿತು, ಬಹುಶಃ ವೀರಭದ್ರಯ್ಯ ಸಾಹೇಬರು, ನಂಜಪ್ಪ ಸಾಹೇಬರು ಬಂದು ಇನ್ಪುಟ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ಅವರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಫೀಡ್ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಸಿಕ್ತು. ನಾವು ನೀತಿ ನಿರೂಪಣೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಗೆ ತುಂಬ ಖುಷಿಯಾಗಿದೆ. ಇವತ್ತಂದರೆ ಇಬ್ಬರು ಅಡಿಷನಲ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟರ್ಸು ಮಾರ್ಚ್ ಇದ್ದರೂ ಕೂಡ ಪೂರ್ತಿ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಮುಗಿಯುವವರೆಗೆ ನಿಂತು ಈ ಹೊಸ ವಿಷಯ ಅಂದರೆ ಏನಪ್ಪ ಇದು ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಮಾರಾಟ ಅಂದರೆ ಏನು ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನು ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅವರು ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ನಾಳೆ ಮುಂದಿನ ಬಜೆಟಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಥರ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಫೆಸಿಲಿಟೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ. ಬಹುಶಃ ಈ ಒಂದು ಹಾರ್ಡ್ ಡಿಸ್ಕಷನ್ ಯಾಕಾಯ್ತು ಅಂದರೆ ದಿರ್ ಆಲ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪರ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಟೆಕ್ನಾಲಜಿ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪರ್ಟ್ಸು. ಇವರೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ ಸೈನ್ಸ್ ಬೇಸ್ಡ್ ಎಸ್ಟಿಮೇಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಎಮಿಷನ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟಿಂಗ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪರ್ಟ್ಸು. ಹೀಗಾದಾಗಿ ಅವ್ರು ನನಗೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಮುಂದಿನ ದಿನಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಈ NBSS LET ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸಿಟಿಗಳಾಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ICR ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಟ್ಗಳಾಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಇವರಿಗೂ ಮತ್ತು ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಂಪನೀಸ್ಗೂ ಒಂಥರ ನಾವು ಫೆಸಿಲಿಟೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಈಗ ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಒಂದು ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ತೊಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಅವರು ವೆಟ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಡ್ರೈಯಿಂಗ್ ಅಂದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ನಮಗೆ ಓಲ್ಡ್ ಟೆಕ್ನಾಲಜಿ ಆಯಿತು. ಸೊ ಅದೇ ಥರ ನಾವು ಪ್ಯಾಡಿ ವಿತ್ ಸಬ್ಮರ್ಜ್ಡ್, ಪ್ಯಾಡಿ ವಿತ್ ಸ್ರೀ ಮೆಥಡ್, ಪ್ಯಾಡಿ ವಿತ್ ಅರೋಬಿಕ್ ಮೆಥಡ್, ಪ್ಯಾಡಿ ಅಂಡರ್ ಡ್ರಿಪ್. ಸೊ ಈ ಥರ ಟೆಕ್ನಾಲಜಿನ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಎಮಿಷನ್ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗ್ತದೆ, ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಸಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ರೇಷನ್ ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗ್ತದೆ, ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಸಿಂಕ್ ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ ನನಗೆ ನಿಜವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಖುಷಿ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಅಗ್ರೋ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಈ ರಾಜ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ಗಿಡ ಬೆಳೆದ್ರು ಬೆಳೆಯಕ್ಕೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಅವ್ನು ಪರ್ಮಿಟ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಿದ್ವಿ. ಒಂದ್ಸಲ ಕಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಅವ್ರು ಬಂದು ಅಟ್ಯಾಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ರು. ಈ ಎಲ್ಲ ರೆಸೊಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ಗಳು ಚೇಂಜ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಪರ್ಮಿಟೆಡ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ಮೋರ್ ದನ್ 40 ಅಗ್ರೋ ಸ್ಪೀಸೀಸ್. ಬಟ್ ಐ ವಾಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಇನ್ವಾಲ್ಡ್. ಅವ್ರು ತೀರ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರಷ್ಟೇ ಮಂತ್ರಿಗಳು. ಬಟ್ ಆ ಪ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟನ್ನು ತಂದು ಕೊನೆಗೂ ಅದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಬಿಡದೆ ಈ ಒಂದು ಶ್ರೀಗಂಧ ಮತ್ತು ಅಗ್ರೋ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಈಗ ನಾವು ಈ 33% ನಾವು ಇರಬೇಕಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ನಮ್ಮ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದಲ್ಲಿ 21% ಅಗ್ರೋ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಇದೆ. ಬಟ್ ಇಫ್ ಯು ಡಿವೈಡ್ ದ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್, ನಾರ್ತ್ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾರ್ಡ್ಲಿ 8 to 10% ಇದೆ. ಸೊ ಈ ಥರ ಅಗ್ರೋ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಮಾಡೆಲ್ಗಳು, ಅಗ್ರೋ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಬೇಸ್ಡ್ ಇಂಟಿಗ್ರೇಟೆಡ್ ಫಾರ್ಮಿಂಗ್ ಲಿವ್ಲಿಹುಡ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಬಂದರೆ ಈ ಥರ ಅವ್ರು ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಅಡಿಷನಲ್ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಈ ಕ್ರೆಡಿಟ್ ಮೂಲಕ ರೈತನಿಗೆ ಬರುವಂಥ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಆಗೋದ್ರಿಂದ ನಮ್ಮ IITಗೆ ನೀವೆಲ್ಲ ಚೈತನ್ಯ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀರಿ. ಇನ್ನೂ ಒಂದು ಹೊಸ ವಿನೂತನವಾದ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಗಳನ್ನ ಕೊಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಇನ್ನೂ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಫೂರ್ತಿ ಬಂದಿದೆ ಈ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ಲಿಂದ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಸೆಕ್ರೆಟರಿ ಅವರು ಮುಂದಿನ ಈ ಲಂಚ್ ಬ್ರೇಕನ್ನು ಅನೌನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು.
ಯಾವುದೇ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಕೂಡ ಪಾಟೀಲ್ರು ಮುಂಚೂಣಿಯಲ್ಲಿರ್ತಾರೆ, ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಪಾಟೀಲ್ ಸರ್. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಅವ್ರು ಅನೌನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ವಿದ್ಯುಕ್ತವಾಗಿ ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ತಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಸಹಕಾರದೊಂದಿಗೆ ಇನ್ನೂ ಏನಾದರೂ ಡಿಸ್ಕಷನ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ರೆ ದೇ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ವಿತ್ ಅಸ್ ಸ್ಪೀಕರ್ಸ್. ಏನಾದರೂ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಸ್ಪೆಸಿಫಿಕ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ರೆ ಲಂಚ್ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಅವ್ರ ಜೊತೆ ಡಿಸ್ಕಷನ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಅವೈಲೇಬಲ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ. ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ತಾವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೂಡ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಸಂಖ್ಯೆಯಲ್ಲಿ, ನೀವು ಒಬ್ಬೊಬ್ಬರು ಬಂದ್ರಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಇವತ್ತು 4 ಜನ, ಮುಂದೆ ಇದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಟಾಪಿಕ್ ಆಗಲೇ ನಾವು ಡಿಸೈಡ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಆಫ್ಲೈನಲ್ಲೂ ಇರ್ತಾರಂದ್ರೂ ಕೂಡ ಆನ್ಲೈನಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಪೀಕರ್ಸಿಗೆ ಒಂದು ಮೋಟಿವೇಶನ್ ಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ದರ್ ಶುಡ್ ಬಿ ಗುಡ್ ನಂಬರ್ ನೋಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅವರಿಗೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ದೇ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಮೋಟಿವೇಟೆಡ್. ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಸಂಖ್ಯೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬರಬೇಕು ನಮ್ಮ IITs ಮುಂದಿನ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ, ನೇಮಿಂಗ್ ಎ ಫ್ಯೂ ಡಿಸ್ಕ್ರಿಮಿನೇಟ್ ಅದರ್ಸ್, ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ, ಎಲ್ಲ IITsಗೂ, ಇಲಾಖೆ ಅಧಿಕಾರಿಗಳಿಗೂ, ಹಿರಿಯ ನಮ್ಮ ವೀರಭದ್ರಯ್ಯ ಸರ್ 70-75 ವರ್ಷ, ನಂಜಪ್ಪ ಸರ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಯಂಗ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಎನರ್ಜೆಟಿಕ್ 80 ಸಮೀಪ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಆದರೂ ಹುಡುಗರಂಗೆ ಬಂದು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಎವ್ರಿ ಸೆಂಟೆನ್ಸು ಕೇಳಿಕೊಂಡು ಅದರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಇಂಟರಾಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಡೆಲಿವರೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. Our MC is very happy. Our MC members are also very happy. I hope IITians are also very happy. Thank you one and all. ಲಂಚ್ ಇದೆ, ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಲಂಚ್ ತಗೊಂಡು ಹೋಗಬೇಕು. ಮುಂದಿನ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಸಂಖ್ಯೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬರಬೇಕಂತ ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ಕೋರಿಕೆ ಸಲ್ಲಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ.
ಸರ್ ಅಂತ ಇದೆಯಾ ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಗ್ಯಾಪ್ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡೆಡ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಇರ್ತದಲ್ಲ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಹಾಕಿದ್ರಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡಿ ಹಾಕಿದ್ರಲ್ಲ ಆ ಥರ ಹಾಕ್ಬೇಕು ನಾವು ಎಮ್ ಸಿ ಗ್ರೂಪ್